猫ち welcome to the stream. Welcome. Once again, as promised, Marin from My Dress Up Darling. Thanks again so much for St. Jude's and reaching her goals. This is the stream you unlocked as promised, and also it's community night, so we're gonna play lots of games tonight. So welcome everyone, welcome. Crowley, thanks for the love. Michigan, thanks for the hype. Oh no, are you trying to get the bot to work? Is it being cranky? Oh, cookies seem to work. Let's test it. Let's give you guys some hugs and see if it works for me. It doesn't. How rude. Oh, there it goes. It's just slow today, I think. So, Timmy gets the cookies today. Cookies. Add Tim. I said Timmy again. It's Tim. I'm terrible. 500 cookies! Congrats. Cookies, if you want to buy things, this is what you buy with cookies. So, welcome everyone. Yeah, it's Tim. Yeah, I keep saying it. Yes, you get all the cookies. But yeah, let me go join the group as we get ready for some golf with friends tonight. You guys are more than welcome to join. Come hang out. You know, my regulars, of course. And if you're not a regular and you just want to join the game, let me know. There are slots available as well. So yeah, if you're new, I will let you play the game with me. If you're a regular, you can join voice chat with me. Just cause, you know. Oh. Maybe I'll join for one. Sweet, do it. Dip. I'll hop on. Sweet, do it. You are a regular bio. Don't even. Let's see. You've been following since when? January 2019. I think you're a regular. I think it's official. Regular here once a month. Hey, it's still regular. Life comes first. Gotta download the game first. No worries. Like, who you looking? Oh, you look 10, Michigan. An artist has been here since March 2021. Run! Tim ran for the likes. But yes, welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome. Alright, let me go jump in voice chat. Let me turn on the music as well. This is gonna be sound overload when I get over there. I don't want sound overload. Oh, in that case. Don't run, I got candy! Do you drive a van and have puppies all over it too? Because that's scary. Be careful, Tim. Be careful. His name is Michigan, but he's actually from like Maine or something. Just say. Just kidding. Michigan's awesome, dude. He's a sweetheart. Long-standing community member and love him so much. Alright.
People with anxiety can't, like, control it.
But I thought it was the other way around. Hi, how are you?
We're live. Welcome.
Hi.
Okay.
Now we're having anxiety discussions, I see.
No, like, so I'm trying to tell Lady that I just found out recently that it's not common to not have an inner monologue.
It's not common to have an enema either.
What?
We went from monologues to enemas? I don't know.
Like, what the fuck are you shoving up your ass?
What did I miss here?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Welcome to the
Anyway,
file.
I'll be quiet. Hey, Kimono, how are you?
I hope we're not too much. Just to give you a warning, we get kind of wild on Friday nights.
Don't worry about it. I just took some Advil, so I'm feeling a lot better than I was the last time you guys saw me.
I'm
I'm still not 100%.
I'm
I'm
gonna.
glad you're feeling a little better.
I'm gonna pipe the fuck down for half of this conversation, or half of every conversation, because I just ran. So, just to be
Yes.
I could just mute you.
Well, there's always that.
Alright.
I love that there's individual volume control for individuals.
Yes.
Because I do try to like
Oh,
make
yeah.
the volume like uniform, like for everybody, and it helps.
Kimono, what's the password again?
Kimono.
Oh, it's kimono. Lowercase.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Golf with friends.
Kimono? We're playing golf with friends again?
Yes. Come join.
Oh, I will. I will
I
join.
have a friend, Mona.
You are talking to yourself. You're anormal. I'm gonna go in voice and yell. Do it, Bio. I will turn you down. I will turn you down.
Bio, I'll cry if you yell. Also,
Ooh.
Oh, that is cool.
I'm
Oh,
super happy with
jeez,
how
what
they
am I
came
missing?
out.
Thanks for the lurk, Matthew.
Is that like a hair curl at the top, or is that
Yes,
meant to
it
be a
is.
halo?
It's a little hair curl.
Okay, I thought it was a hair curl or a halo, and I was like, well, you need to change that fucking thing for us.
I feel like the only thing I'm missing from this cosplay is her bangs, but I don't want to cut my hair, so you guys get my long bangs.
Don't cut your hair.
Speaking of
I'm not.
speaking
I
of
don't
cutting
like bangs
hair.
in my hair.
Hey!
Hello.
Hi! You don't have hair now.
I do not.
I bet it is comfortable and it's not hot.
Oh,
And it,
It's wonderful.
can I ask you a
I
small
wish I could
question?
show you my face, guys, but I'm streaming right now, so you can see me on my stream. Look at my face.
yay!
Can I ask you a small question?
I should give you a shout out.
See when you shaved
And
your
I'm
head,
doing a charity stream still, guys.
When you-
I'm doing
when you
this for the
shaved
whole
your
month
head.
of June.
how
Cool.
amazing was it when you just ran your hand through your hair and it was like the stubble? It's
It's
nice,
pretty
huh?
good.
It's nice, huh? I don't know.
And
I want to do that. I want to run it and feel it, but mine doesn't have.
Right?
Mine's not like that.
Well, then come up here and say hi.
Come up, say hi, just to rub your head and go.
Where are you
at? Florida.
Where are you at, Crowley?
Come to New York and say hi.
Oh no, thank you.
Wow.
You can keep your
Way
little
up there.
Canada smokes.
I've done the drive
Oh,
before. It's
yeah.
pretty fun. It's pretty great.
Lady,
I'm joking.
send me
Don't do
Can you
it.
send me
Not
a
like
link to the...
But yeah, here's the whole
Go
outfit.
friends, please.
See?
No.
Ta-da.
You don't need a link.
Okay.
You can just join off of one of those.
y'all are
True,
cute.
true.
All right. What am I doing?
I don't
I
even
have
have you
with
as a
friends.
friend on Steam.
Golf with friends.
I haven't played in so long.
Oh, maybe.
I have Kimono as a
There
friend
goes.
on Steam.
If
You can join my game then. And passwords, kimono.
I joined.
Join via Steam's the easiest way.
You know, Dreams
Because
just
golf
has
is
to
funky.
join via Michigan.
How?
I'm not
in
fucking...
the
I'll be honest with you, I'm having a
hippity
retard
heck?
moment.
This
Top
game
right,
has up
Where the little people are.
Gotcha.
little people.
Find
Join.
Kimono or Michigan and then join from there and put it in the
I'm
password.
already joined.
I know. I was talking to Dreams because he's dumb.
Yeah. We did it.
Wow.
We did it. We did
Catch you
it.
up
Yeah.
and lurking to
Cheers, buddy.
Let's see.
Oh, I'll be drinking right
Cheers.
after I drink
Excuse
Mountain
me.
Dew.
I have to finish my pink cereal milk.
That sounds yummy.
I have iced tea.
I'm gonna have a Sam Summer.
Guys, Tifa is live and she is fundraising today.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah!
heads up.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
here,
the whole
Kimono.
month of June, actually.
For Stack Up.
Kimono, question for you.
I don't want.
Uh-huh.
How did your birthday surprise go? How did your fucking stream and everything go? Because I've not seen you since. But I do remember.
I didn't do the birthday stream. I failed. I was sick.
Can I
Yeah,
just?
she failed.
Did we or didn't we give that over? The
No, the
virtual
card. Yeah, the card.
The card
I
we
I don't
did the
think
day
it's allowed
before.
in this voice chat
Okay.
today.
Yeah.
And
Good job, Braden.
for the
thing?
giveaway.
I'm gonna be quiet. Shut up.
the
job,
card we did do. The card was amazing. Thank you guys
And I need to go away.
so much.
No,
Thank
you
you
need
so
to
much
be
for all the
quiet.
wishes.
From the local fat. I'm the guy who did that.
Continue the chaos. Let's
I
go.
appreciate it.
Anybody else joining before we hit play? Tifa, do you have anybody on your side that wants to join us today?
Not right now so far. I I do have a lot of viewers watching me, but most of them don't really chat right now. But if anybody here, just let me know in the chat, and I will give you. Kimono will give me her Discord, and I can send it on my
Yeah.
And do
More
the
the
thing.
merrier. We can have up to 12 people.
I can't speak.
Enjoy
I'm
the
sorry,
golf,
it's
everyone.
Friday.
I will enjoy watching. Thank you, Tim.
I'm sorry, guys. It's Friday. I can't speak correctly.
It's okay. Alright, I'm going to end the music, and turn on some golf sounds.
I haven't played this
I
game
like
in
to
so
listen
long.
to my music when I play the golf anyway. So
Let's see.
This is going to be chaos. And it's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to be great.
When is golf not chaos? And it's
Absolutely
fun.
true.
Oh, fuck.
Oh lord.
Are we gonna be able to
is jump on?
Yes.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
It's always on.
Collision and jump is on.
Collision? Okay, that means I can hit Kimono.
Yes, you can. You can
I'm sorry,
ruin my
Kimono, I had
life.
to. I'm
Their
sorry,
jump
I
is
had
on.
to say that.
What's
No,
the
it's
one
on.
you
Oh
don't see?
god.
Jump
Which
is
one
not
does it
on.
out?
At least it's not.
It's not?
No.
Hold on.
I can't
Wait.
jump.
Guys and girls, what's the one to zoom out?
Oh no, what happened? Okay,
Yeah,
back
I
out.
can't jump.
Hey, what's the one to zoom out?
Back out, okay.
I don't know, but we're backing out because we don't have jump.
Yeah.
If I do
Oh, I got it.
We're backing out, boys. By the way.
retire,
yous,
is that
cheaters.
right? Yeah.
Okay, I'm backing out.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Oh my
jump
God.
is not on.
Cheating's
tried
fun.
jumping. Yes. Most definitely.
I guess it's a good thing I walked
I
away to
turned
go
it to
grab
the
the
right
Mountain Dew.
room.
Yeah, isn't it
Let's
just
see,
that?
collision enabled.
Rain, I like
Oh,
your
that's the hard
shirt.
Mountain Dew.
Oh, fucking
Not a
Mountain
shirt.
Dew.
Around.
Oh,
Like a little, like,
rain, I like your dress.
Allow jumping.
Mountain
Apply.
Dew
Maybe I
told
forgot
me
to
to
hit
go.
apply
Came with,
earlier.
thigh-high socks.
Heck yes.
I have another one, but it's actually, for some reason, even though they're the same size, that one's runs smaller on me, and I don't know why.
That's
Yeah, by the way, Kimono, this is my alt account.
It
I'm
is
just gonna be watching you from this one.
No.
Keeping you supported.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
password timed out. What the heckity heck?
Oh yeah, you have to type it in fast enough,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, you
I
gotta
have
be
to-
faster. You gotta be quick. Or join Rick's team.
Nobody knows that shit like I do. You just gotta be quick.
Mother trucker.
I was nice and quick.
Father Mucker? No comment. I'm trying
Oh,
to behave
catch if you're
myself.
playing
Time to
Pokemon.
find out if the
A
Baja
kitty cat appeared.
mangoes.
Look.
and-
And I'm away from the fucking stream and the Kit Kat appeared.
No, you're gonna catch the leopard. Leopard.
That wasn't what we called
Leopard.
back
Where's
in
the
the day,
kitty?
but
I don't
okay.
see it in your stream.
Wow.
It's a
I can't
Pokemon
help
community
myself.
game.
Can't
Poketch.
help myself. I'm sorry.
What is? Oh, dreams.
Thanks. You know.
You don't own that ball. Oh, you need more balls. I mean,
Fondue too.
oh god,
I was
words
about
are
to
hard
say.
tonight. Again. We didn't have a repeat of yesterday.
It's Friday, so my that's how I'm gonna be like all day.
Nico, Nico, Nico. You know, I wonder if Nico's a command. That would be cool. That's not. But I could just bite somebody instead. That works.
That's
Come
rude.
again?
Oh, you got bio. That's alright.
Yeah, I bit Bio. He deserved it.
Okay, the
No.
mango one's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's actually
Yeah, okay,
really
ball
flavorful.
jumping. Okay, there we go. It told me right away that there's ball
It's
jumping.
great.
Are you a fan of
Yeah.
mango?
Damn
Yes.
right. And I have the Baja Blast mango.
Then
I have
hard
Code
me,
Red.
me and you are gonna be friends forever.
Oh,
I love mango. You're ready to see a home one. Ready to see a home one.
No.
I
Really?
got
Nope.
Ah,
Crowley.
motherfucker.
Huh?
I missed it.
No, I got it too.
Moto
At least
bumped
I caught
into
the
me.
Pokemon.
Mono.
Ooh.
Moto bumped
You know you
into me
liked
on
it.
the first day.
You know you liked it.
Hey, just because I liked it doesn't mean that it's called for there, lady.
Wait, I heard my
Debatable.
name, and now Mono
Debatable.
is biting me? Yes. Apparently I'm a vampire too, not just a
What's
dress up
that?
darling
Who are you?
Marin.
Two and a
Too
1.5
fast.
year? 2
Maybe
years?
not.
Oh!
I was gonna get a whole one, but y'all's booties were too big.
Sorry, yeah, we had to.
Sorry.
You'll allow it?
I
Okay.
almost had it, but you weren't moving fast enough.
I was number one, though.
How dare? How very dare
I'm not
you?
doing well.
Oh, the
I
bites.
didn't do it.
Oh, this one. Ready?
Oh lord.
Another
Oh,
I'm not
what?
drunk enough.
Hey,
hole in
hole in
one.
Oh
Woohoo.
no.
All in one. I'm number one again. What the fuck?
Fucking Nico.
Yes. Nico, Nico,
Is that more
nee.
like
This
this?
way.
Ah! Saved it.
That would have to be censored on my stream, and I don't know how to pull up censor bars.
Oh, here, actually, Kimono. Have you seen the changes that's coming into Twitch?
Hmm?
Have you seen the changes that's coming into Twitch?
No.
fuck the
Some
changes.
maybe not.
Oh, it's
Some of them are
fucking
pretty dumb.
crazy. Yeah, they're fucked up. Like, see if you've got ads in the bottom corner, like for, let's say, NZXT or whatever the fuck it might be.
Yeah, like
Then
You
They're
can't-
they're
food
limiting
ads
that
and
to
stuff.
like 3% of your
3
fucking
inches.
screen.
So yeah, like if you do the
that's what-
Hello Fresh thing or something, your
Yeah.
your little code has to be smaller than 3 inches.
Yeah.
Your logos have to be smaller than 3
On
inches.
top
I
of
think
that,
I have a
doesn't
size issue.
Matter though. Like,
you know, size clearly
Yeah, I know,
does
it's a
matter in
size
this
issue.
it
case.
doesn't have to be that big.
It does. So
Oh, that's the
say-
wrong
say-
flag.
The
I
other,
almost hit the kimono.
the other crazy thing
They
is,
reverted all of that? Okay.
the other crazy
They
thing.
realized that they were
what-
shooting their own sponsors probably in the foot.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
They
I reckon-
reverted it.
Well,
know,
that's just drama.
Let me tell you how I think it's going to go. Insofar as Twitch,
It's not
is
gonna
concerned.
go because they reverted it.
But
Mhm.
it's basically going to
canceled.
mean like Twitch has
Streams.
like a what?
Streams, listen, they reverted
they-
it. It's not
They
happening.
canceled that.
Son of a bitch.
But it's
They
going
got too
to.
much.
No,
No.
they reverted it.
They
They're
changed
not
their
doing
minds.
it anymore.
Oh my god! Sorry. Someone
Bio literally just said
I
they're
think it
not
was
doing
me. I'm
that anymore.
sorry.
Yeah, they did tweet out saying that they weren't.
Yeah,
They're like,
but
oh my
the-
bad. You guys don't like
Yeah.
this?
But see when it comes to like
They
Got it.
tried. But
get in the hole. See when it comes to
Oh.
Oh,
certain things when it comes to certain things in the way of like let's say
Brain.
you're trying to advertise
Trying.
or
Ah,
play game-
motherfucker.
let's say you're trying to
No! Caught on camera.
yeah my conversation's lost. I understand that. Roman.
anyways, dreams. Let's worry about balls and holes.
Okay, just wanna make sure.
Dreams.
Oh,
Guess
motherfucker!
what I
Worry
found
about
out the
balls
other
and holes.
day?
Gosh.
Guess what I found out the other day, Michigan.
That you're a
Yo.
bitch?
Actual
No.
Link to that tweet. Oh, did it not show the link?
Oh man, Rain.
You can send it to me, Bio. I don't know how to make it do it.
I had a 5 and I
Here.
fucking sucked.
So highest number wins, right? That's how that works.
ADHD
I'm winning
wins.
right now.
There you go. It should work. It may. I think I might have too many link things.
Who the fuck hit me?
It might
Who's
not,
fucking you?
because I think it's Twitch.
It wasn't
Somebody
me.
fucked Up the ass.
No, our balls touched.
Oh man! It didn't let me jump on the outside.
Yeah, we can't see it. I see 3 dots.
Yeah, it's just little asterisks.
You can send it to me and I'll post it.
You know what?
Oh,
I missed this.
Doggo.
I missed
Oh,
this.
chaos! You missed chaos.
See when I was
Yeah,
when I was out the
that
other week,
That was bad.
when I was out the other week and I came back and you were playing like golf
DM
with
me,
friends.
Bio. Slide into my
And
DMs.
I dropped in at like the last moment. I was like, oh, this is
Oh,
fucking
God.
cool. And he's all decided to like bail because you just played
Okay.
your game. I was like, oh, this fucking sucks because I want to play golf with
Yeah,
friends.
you love this game.
I love it. Hole in one, by the way, just to point that out.
No.
Yeah, me too. But I don't brag about it.
I don't give
Same.
a fuck. I'm different. I'm a different breed.
Motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
I prefer a further marker. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What's that? You got squishy in your head.
Whatever.
He's
gingerbread
man.
Is that the one you can turn inside out and make it
I'll
whether
put
you're
it in
happy or
my
not?
Discord too.
Yeah.
Wow. So lovely.
I love that. They're like, yesterday we released new branded content guide that impacted your ability to work with sponsors to increase your income from streaming. These guidelines are bad for you and bad for Twitch, and we are removing them immediately.
Yeah, true.
I'm guessing
but-
their top streamers were just like, no, dude, we're
Nope.
out.
We're getting a lot of
Yeah,
money
for
off of
sure.
it.
But see,
Their money makers were like, no, we don't like this. So they're like,
But-
Yeah,
oh,
they're the
you don't
ones
like it?
that have-
Okay.
see the thing that I think is
They're the
fucked.
ones that have the power on Twitch. If they say no,
The
Mhm.
thing that I think is fucked is because
You
let's
are
say
fucked.
okay, well like Twitch,
Oh,
Twitch is
wrong.
fucked. Twitch is
Wrong.
fucked because like it's got
Oh,
like-
what the fuck? Okay.
Thank you, Bio.
Par, baby.
hey, well, it's just a thing, I guess.
come on, get in the hole.
No.
Focus on balls.
Sorry. I'm focusing.
Balls
I
are
am
love.
focused.
Balls are
My
life.
ball's already in. So.
So Kimono,
Yeah, so is mine.
basically what they've said is that they're allowed to have, a specific advertisement that goes on, but
Yes.
only if it's affiliated with Twitch. So
What about-
Twitch gain their money
God.
from certain affiliates, and if it turns out
Thanks,
that
Ray.
you're
Good.
Oh,
If it-
Playing
what
with
was
balls
that
and
emo
fighting
kimono?
the holes. Oh.
Thanks, Rain, for that little
Oh, I love it.
I'm not.
Bio,
How
bio,
the
bio.
fuck do I land? Oh yeah.
Rain and I are just kissing each other's butt. Oh lord.
I hate that when I jump too slow. Just like it messes everything
it.
up.
Good.
Yeah,
It's
look
not
at
a
how
sec-
many
it's not
emotes
a
I
sec-
have.
It's not a
Kimono.
second. It's not a second shot. It's not a second shot.
You got lucky on your push.
I'm waiting on my new crow emotes.
no.
I'm excited.
Ooh.
I finally got them. Like, it took me almost a year before I got my emotes resized.
If it makes me
'Cause they
feel
were
any
pretty
better, I
good.
can't afford to pay anyone to make me emotes, so I've had to like draw them or ask my
If it
best
makes you
friend to
feel
do
any
them.
better, I had to go to a doctor to get my
I
emotes.
did.
You have done a good job with yours, Lady Rain.
Thanks. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Thanks.
Rain, your
Ah.
voice dropped for a
As
second
lady-
there.
Who bumped me in the grass? Somebody
Well,
jumped out of the grass and hurt me.
It scared you.
Give
that
Moto
wasn't me.
a like 40 hit handicap. Apparently that's what they're doing. As you requested, Bio.
Well, she
As
is
you
winning, so-
requested. They bumped me in the grass. Nick
Well,
Dothy,
that's
thank you so
not-
much for that lurk.
It's-
And again, happy birthday, Nick Dothy.
Happy
It was Nick
birthday!
Dothy's birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
We don't celebrate birthdays here.
Yeah, yeah.
Aw,
we apparently we don't. I canceled the birthday stream. Apparently we don't.
Hold on. You have a good reason though. Like, did you not go and see Lady?
No,
Yeah.
well, no, I
That
was
was a figment of
supposed to
your
be, but I was
imagination.
too sick.
Yeah,
It was
she
supposed to be
very-
Saturday, but I just still got too sick and I couldn't
Yeah,
do
she
it.
was sick.
I had a
I'm
I
still
did a
sick.
12-hour stream.
If it's one thing I realized about you, Kimono, is that you turn up late to your own fucking funeral.
I do.
She probably would.
Yeah.
She totally
I
would.
s- You know what happened to me? I streamed last night. I only worked 2 days this week because I've been sick. And I streamed last night, and then I went to bed, and I slept like 14 hours. That's how dead I
yeah.
was for pushing
Oh.
myself to work 2 days and stream
Lucky
once.
guy. Lucky
I was like,
guy.
I've never
I don't
slept
believe
that
it's-
much.
I don't believe it's a work fucking
Um,
reason for you sleeping that long. So
Kimono, I work 5
You
days a
don't-
week, and I stream 5 days a week.
Yeah,
Work
it takes
5
a lot
days
of
week
energy.
And maybe stream like once a month.
I used to do that. I used
I
to
don't
have
have
that
no
kind of
one.
energy, but I don't. And
I got no
being
energy.
sick, there was no way.
you know what I do love and I
Yeah,
do
but if I'm
respect?
sick, yeah, I don't stream.
Do you know what I do love and what I do respect is the fact that even though you didn't come on to do your own stream, you passed your stream on to Lady, even though
Mhm.
Lady doesn't really
I
kinda
did.
stream that much. That's cool. I love it.
Sorry for the way I
gave
had
her
to
a
let the
shout
dog out.
What?
She was
Sorry.
streaming her anniversary stream, and she was going to join me after her stream for my stream, and I was like, nope, too sick. We're just gonna support Lady. I love your hat there, Rain.
You say anniversary stream, but what, like, Lady, is it
was
like
my Twitch affiliate.
It's her 4-year
okay.
affiliate stream.
I thought it was like a fucking
Dream, why are you doing so well?
you and Dalton anniversary stream kind of thing, and that's like, I just get anniversary.
It's
from,
Twitch
like, one
anniversary.
person to another person. I didn't realize it was that. Right, which one to hit?
Hi, everybody.
Far right.
Far right.
This whole everybody.
Full yeet.
Yep.
That was a mess.
Albatross.
What we doing? Full yeet?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Full yeet. Far right. Nailed it.
Excuse me. Sorry, I'm drinking Mountain Dew, so this is what happens.
That's rude. Oh, that's me every day.
Oh, I'll be
I drink
drinking
lots of
some
Mountain Dew.
beer, some Smart Off, so after
I
this,
tend to drink zero sugar Mountain Dew daily, so.
I don't drink.
I'm partying today.
I'm really surprised that you still have fucking teeth and fillings. Like,
That's
Oh,
really rude.
I don't.
Cause we drink Mountain Dew.
No, it's
Oh,
just all
yeah.
sugar. It's just all sugar.
I have
Oh.
I have several cavities. It's one on one of my front teeth, and I hate it.
I don't mean it to sound like I'm a absolute cunt, even though I am.
You are.
I'm
You're
just-
saying as Americans we eat a lot of sugar,
just-
and we
I'm just
somehow
saying,
manage to.
A lot of sugar.
I'm just meaning like there's a lot of like I had a.
Oh!
I had a.
Somebody
monster-
booty bump. That was Paybacks, wasn't it,
That
Crow?
was a-
I had a Monster Energy.
That was a
Once.
booty.
That was Paybacks.
No.
Yes, I know. I know you
No.
love your sugar talks.
You did the same thing I did.
Dreams.
It's alright, I'm doing
No.
it again.
I refuse.
Well, they
Oh
love
my
it.
god, the two of you.
I went the
refuse.
wrong way.
You got all the holes.
Oh no.
That- Can
You
somebody
saved
fucking
yourself?
put that?
That person got all the holes.
Dream.
You fucking
Guys.
Come
I
on.
thought you were gonna
I
touch me
had
for
a-
a second there. I was gonna.
I had
Whoa.
Ooh, you touched my tra-la-la.
Lady, I had a monster. I had a monster once.
And it was too much sugar.
It kept me awake for 52 hours. I
I
don't know
don't
how.
I like the sugar-free
You know they
ones,
have
though.
sugar-free monsters. That's what I usually get too.
love the sugar-free ones.
Right in the
I
hole.
just-
I'm
it
at
just
second hole.
doesn't-
What?
It just doesn't equate to me. To be honest with you. Nailed it. Nailed it. Come on, oh, calm the
Number
fuck down.
42. Go to the top of the V and just roll in.
That's
Thanks,
what I was
Thor.
trying to do when I got lagged.
Michigan took
The answer to the life, the universe, and everything.
Oh, this
42.
one, I
Oh,
hate this one.
God.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Smashed it all the park.
Didn't even plan it that way either.
Where's make sure you-
Thor is
make-
the topic and golf is the topic with the quotes right now.
Here, I
Well,
got
make
one of
As
them.
soon as you
I got-
slam your ball
No,
into my ball, I got all the wood right
Oh
in my
my-
face.
Mate,
I used another ball to get
that
it.
man's
out.
got a fucking. That man's got a place in my heart.
Why would you knock me away from the hole?
Oh, no.
Well, I used your
Why?
ball and went in. so
Collie,
now I
don't
got
do
two.
it!
Somebody should have not.
I finished
Mono
downloading
out.
the game. I'll be able to play. I hope you can.
Mono,
Need
no.
headphones? Yes, artists, you need headphones. We need to.
Can
That
somebody
way you can
hit
join
Kimono,
voice
though?
chat.
Oh, we
No.
do this like.
Oh!
Oh, this one.
Who's that?
This-
Who's
What?
the one that crossed over there?
Somebody hit Kimono.
No,
She's winning. We can't have this happen.
What?
I'm not winning.
Oh,
Fucking
shit.
hit the pole. Fucking.
Stop
Oh,
Stop
Dick
hitting the
fuck.
pole, man.
I'm
There
hurting
we
myself, if that
go.
makes you
There
feel
we
better.
Go. Oh, the law.
Ah!
Really?
Crow.
Don't need to hear me.
Come on down.
Okay.
No.
Sad
That didn't
face.
That did not work.
Oh, I went way too hard.
You don't even hear me? Yeah, we do. We need to hear your beautiful voice, artist.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We have to hear dreams, so.
Yeah, yeah.
We could live without
We really do.
Hi, Mono.
Running.
Oh, that
God.
was that was
If you
me.
should
me.
actually.
No, 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 no.
If you should genuinely actually-
Who hit Kimono? Unbelievable.
If you want
You
to
see all my moves there? Did you see all my moves? Joffrey, welcome. Thank you for the loves, Joffrey. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, you rim job.
Oh, whoa.
Always
Hey.
the rim job.
We're in Discord if you want to join us.
Yeah.
Jeffrey!
Oh,
And
Jeff-
we're
hold
causing
on
too
a
much
minute.
trouble.
Hold on.
Play Jeffrey.
Let's fucking cap out with this.
No.
I won 39 points.
Man, I wanted to
I
get
tried
Great.
to, just damn it.
Got a detective cap.
Cheats. Brain hush. That's rude, artist.
How dare you?
See,
Rude. You have such a pretty face.
I got a brain from the other day too with that new map.
Oh, I wanted
I
the
want a
Well, I bought my
brain.
brain
I
too
know,
on
I
eBay.
want the brain too.
Oh,
But-
can somebody give me a brain?
Whoa.
If I
don't
only
have
had a brain.
Yes, if I only had a brain.
Because we want to hear your voice and see your beautiful face.
That's just weird looking.
The balloons. Those
I got that rainbow trail going. Happy Pride Month.
Where is he?
Let's
Where's
see.
Jaffron?
I heard my name, but I was putting on the
He's
earbuds.
Stefan right now.
See my face.
Okay.
Yes!
We're gonna
Putting on
try-
eyeliner then? Okay.
Where's Jazzy J? Let's get Jaffron on here.
Oh,
Oh, he left.
Oh, he was in here. What happened?
Yeah.
he's now an AFK, apparently.
Jazzy
No,
Jaff.
he's not.
Does he need the roll? No, he's got the
Oh,
roll.
there
Oh, there he is.
Jaffron!
Welcome, Jaffron. Welcome. Alright. Next map. Do we want to do
Jaffron isn't
crafting?
here.
We do. So you guys gonna earn brains?
Follow me.
Oh yeah, it's Jazzy J. Okay, got you, buddy.
It's particles of Jaffron.
Cute!
Right? I was like, I don't think Crowley got to see
It looks
yet.
sparkly.
Hey, Kennedy, how are you getting on?
Sparkly. I'm so proud of it.
It's very good.
I'll play the
Okay.
next game? Okay. Alright.
Jaffron, do you have Golfing with Friends?
No,
I'm gonna give
fuck
you
you.
guys a second. I need to do.
You
take
do?
your
Yes or no?
notes. Thanks.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Do you want to
perfect.
join us?
I'm
You're more than welcome to join
No.
us.
looking for it. Where is it?
Perfect.
Jaffron's not welcome here, okay?
Oh,
Rude. Everybody
Okay.
here is welcome, including my community too.
I will
If
let you
anybody
know.
wants to
I
come in.
know.
I will let you know.
being an asshole right now.
Rain
will
is
let you
just
know
being
that
the bully tonight.
ladies
being
love
Rain.
language. Ladies love language is just to be a cunt. She loves you
God.
all, but it's
I'm a
literally
bitch. Yeah,
she
I'm a little bitch.
annoys people
Little
because that's
bitch.
her love
dude,
language.
you
That's
don't
all
have
it
to
is.
tell me that. I've been in ladies.
Well, it fucking took me a couple of months
Whoa.
to figure
No,
that shit
but
out.
like the rest
Finish
of
the
them
sentence.
have not been around very much when I'm in here. And the rest of y'all were here last week, but I didn't get to play because it was a Saturday, and I was at D&D,
Can you do me a
even
favor?
though Mona knew I was at D&D
Can you
and
do me a
couldn't
favor?
fucking join.
Can you do me a favor,
No,
please?
the fuck you want?
Can you hold your fucking book up so as I know what you're drawing?
I'm not drawing anything. I'm putting
Well,
my
it looks-
sticker in my sticker book.
But it looks like you're drawing stuff.
Sticker book.
Oh yeah. Oh,
But yes, anybody on
Oh!
Yeah.
Tifa's stream
Looks
or
cool.
my stream that is a regular to our communities is more than welcome to join voice chat. If you're not a regular to the communities and an approved voice chat 18 plus person, you still can play the game with us, just not join voice chat. So just let us know.
I need to start a sticker book. I have so
I've
many
had
stickers.
this for
2
7
years.
years. No, 7 years.
Woo!
Kimono, is
I
the
haven't filled it
password the
completely
same
yet.
from last?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
Yep,
password's
yep.
same.
Password's still Kimono.
It's like, look at all this
All
space that I
lowercase.
have
Come on,
still in,
oh.
like some areas.
Mhm.
You're looking fucking pretty today, pal.
She
Thank
looks fucking
you.
pretty.
Yeah, the hair
She looks
straightens
pretty
out.
every day.
Yeah, and I
Well,
redid my
okay.
tips all pink again.
Lady,
I'm happy.
very
Fucker.
true, very true. But at the same time,
Oh my
I'm gonna
god.
say that especially
You had your
Hey,
chance, girl. Just kidding.
just you pipe down.
Don't
Just
have
you-
enjoyed it.
I get it. I understand. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. But especially like I don't know, it's like the blue tie, it just extenuates the length of your hair, or it's just so straight. We got the wee pink bits at the bottom.
Yeah, it's part of the
You're looking-
cosplay.
or the fucking
Like,
choker.
It's fine. I have an innocent
Yeah.
girl crush on
Fucking
Mono. It's
looking
okay.
pretty. You're looking pretty
Yeah.
today, pal.
It's
That's
all
all I'm
good.
saying.
We
Rain,
had
you
fun
got- you
opening
got some
all the
extra
Pokemon
beans
cards.
tonight.
I
do
am
have some
not
extra
great.
beans. I don't know where they came from.
I am not great at giving compliments.
Well, thank you so
Okay.
much, Dreams. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you
know
for the
what?
compliments.
No, no. I'm not gonna. No.
I think what he's trying to say is Mono's cute. Ooh woo.
No. Right. You
Oh,
fucking pipe down.
rude.
You pipe down. All I'm saying is
Ew.
the tie
Anybody else joining?
insinuates how straight your hair is, and I like a
Parker
straight hair.
Dragon.
Why is
Jeffron, you
that?
guys playing golf with us?
Hair's always fucking straight.
When it
Yeah,
is adorable.
but you got the
Ew,
wee
thank
pink
you, thank you,
bits.
thank you.
Look, it's an actual like an outfit.
hang on. Apologies. My internet's being stupid. One
Oh
moment.
Okay.
gosh, Jesus
That's
Christ.
okay.
Internet is
Jaffron's
stupid.
like
I'm
not
saying.
loading in for me for some reason.
I'm not gonna give out any other compliments
Mono is
because I
adorable.
just
He is,
can't.
she is.
I can't do compliments. I'm just trying. Okay, I'll be there. Quiet. Nice.
Mono is cute. Ooh woo.
No,
That was
I
really
just,
bad.
well,
It was a really bad move.
I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
I
There we
accept it, though.
go.
I accept it though. So.
Anyway, cheers,
Oh.
everybody.
Skull.
Cheers
Cheers.
again.
If you
I'm
can't
Jolly.
This is, I can see lady just try to straight. I can see lady just try to straighten her hair. I've been like, I got fucking straight hair too.
No, I'm trying to get it off my neck.
I don't have hair, so.
So you wanna know what you should do? You wanna know
No,
what
you have to
should
hide
do?
it with it. I'm not shaving my head.
You should shave
Don't
your
pull
head.
at me because he
you
knows
shave
I'm
your
gonna
head.
get really upset. This- this-
You can do an undercut. Do an undercut.
Like I got it down to here, and I haven't had it this long in
Alright.
well over 10 years.
Do an undercut.
Don't want mommy because he knows I'll get upset about it too.
But
I'll
then
be
you
honest
can
with you.
stim by petting it.
I know.
Yeah.
Pet your hair, it makes it grow.
You could pet it. It's that fuzzy
Hey,
stuff.
I'm back over here.
I will agree. I will agree.
I'm back, by the
An
way.
undercut is
Okay,
cool
welcome
as
back.
fuck.
I
Jeff-
know.
So let's say,
Jaffron,
let's
are
say
you
you've
joining
got
the
like
game?
let's say
I
you've got
wanted to
trying,
actually
my
do like
computer's
like
being
just
iffy.
like a little section
Okay.
here on one side.
If you
But-
peel it over, and you go from like the base of like that's like that fucking part of the bone, and you
The
go
temple?
and just shave it all. Yeah, well,
That's
just
too
a bit above the
much.
temple.
That's
From
too
the
much.
temple right the way down to the back of your neck.
That's too much.
Oh no.
That's too much.
That's
You'll
why
be
I was
fine.
saying the undercut because it would get a little.
Yeah,
It would
just
get
like
it
a
off of
small
your
little
neck.
Because
triangle,
you
yeah.
can't
Yeah.
you can't actually see it
Well,
if you don't put your hair up. If you
Does
do
that
put
mean-
your hair up, then it still
No,
looks
but
sexy.
like I don't have a middle part. That's my
Oh,
problem.
you don't have a center
I
pattern.
have a side part.
Okay, well you can still
Yeah.
do it though. So you work with your, let's say, so you've got like an off-center pattern,
Yeah.
like a crown, whatever. If you fold it over the other, sorry, I heard the.
No, Mono's just coughing because
I have congestion, chest, head, you name it. Allergies.
Oh, you have hay fever too?
no,
Anyway,
she's
got
got
bronchitis.
allergies to animals
Yeah.
that she
My
was around.
allergies just
Shit.
like led to basically bronchitis, but
I got bronchitis.
Wow.
Ain't nobody got time for
yeah,
that.
it was a fun time. It happens.
It happens. So yeah,
Are we going?
Mm-hmm.
let's go.
Strap on
lady,
Alright.
joining.
if
Wait,
you
is
don't
Jack
He's
on
have-
it?
trying.
You don't have a center.
There he
pattern.
is!
There he
Yes,
is.
he made it!
Fun!
Woo! Let's go.
Shave the head from the temple down.
I'm gonna lose.
Yeah.
That's
No, I
okay,
won't
we're all
build
gonna
that.
lose
I'm
on
making
this
one
map,
on the
just
left
saying.
side, and that's the
But
problem that
we're-
I have. I don't
We're
want
all
it on
gonna
the
win
right
in the
side.
end, right?
I want it on
Yeah,
the left
so
side.
No.
So what?
We'll
so
lose
where's
together.
where's the center pattern? Is
My
it that
part
side?
is on the left side, but that's the side I want shaved. That's the
Your
problem.
Partner's on the left side.
Anyways, this
So
forest.
then you want it on that
Please.
side. No, you have to do it in the opposite
The
side.
answer is
It's
undercut.
in the rhythm.
It's in the
But I
motion of the
also-
ocean.
I know, but then I also like
Where is
I
the
did
black
that
I
one?
don't
once.
want to go to a hairstylist because I can't be trusted to do my own shit. I can
Oh,
trim
you don't
my
fucking
own
shave your
hair.
head.
I
I'll
trim
shave your head.
I trim my own hair just because it's so long. I have a brush it
Oh,
more,
I didn't
but-
know you
Okay.
could go that
I'll
way.
happily shave your head. And
Whoa,
put a,
please don't shave
a
my head.
tire on it.
Yes!
Alright.
What the fuck just happened?
Just you
Oh,
fucking simmer down.
jeez.
I've not even
Bad.
kicked off yet.
Trick shots.
Fucking
Hi.
balls
We're
deep
all
in
family
water.
down there.
I'm surprised I survived that.
Joe, something funny.
Don't. No!
I was gonna say, don't anybody come down here. I'll be fucking pissed.
Oh, you fucking idiot.
I can't do this.
you.
How
I
does
just
everybody
made my
do
shot.
this?
I didn't go down the hole. I just jumped over the side and
That's
walked
what
the
they
plank.
say.
I went down the hole. I fell for it.
I'm gonna
Jaffron
Tifa, do you know
died
if
into the hole.
J3 has figured out this map yet? If J3's
Gotta go
figured it
through all
out,
the
I need to
holes.
play with him once so I can learn all the tricks.
Jaffron died
Let's see if Nathan will
right
come
into
into
the
my
hole.
chat.
Oh, I dove. I didn't dived.
Yeah.
I can't find
Excuse
the
me,
hole.
I dove.
No, he died.
No!
I dived.
Dead.
like-
I
I like
know,
a good- I like a
G3's
good
been
dive
having a
bar,
lot of
you know?
internet issues lately, so.
I bet
Oh,
that dive bar
no.
is great.
I'm
That
Yeah.
sucks.
like I'm out already.
I like the little
there's
hole in the
no
wall
way.
better.
Dude, I got a
there's no way-
14.
There's no
Just
way that
dove.
I can actually.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
You
No, I
did it,
did
you
it.
did it. Just don't give it too much heat and you're fine.
I
Yes.
love these all, but there's so many innuendos that I just want to. 12 strokes. 12
Like, I'll
strokes.
give
and
Mono
I'm
some heat.
What?
12 strokes.
Dude, I got
Give me a
14
second, guys. I just
strokes,
realized
so-
I
Come
forgot
on,
to,
guys.
Yo,
Now I'm
good
mad
for the
y'all
crowley.
missed that.
There's so many innuendos that I'm.
How many bars?
Oh.
3 eats?
2, 1.
Well, I'm gonna go 3. I'm gonna go 3
Yes.
eats.
3.
Well,
Maybe
3
just like a tiny bit more.
Three eats is there, but I got caught up. So I'm gonna go 3 eats.
Sorry, guys. I had to,
That's a fast one.
A hair
How
over
can I-
3 is a hole-in-one swoosh.
How can I go a hair
Is
over?
that
Yeah.
bragging, please?
I can't even get through the fucking.
A hair over 3 is a hole-in-one swoosh if you don't get blocked.
Ah, no! Oh my god, I got.
Yeah, y'all gotta get good.
Fuck.
Oh, I know.
Hey, get the fucking
I
hair.
know.
Shut the
Like
fuck up.
I have it timed. But I'm like,
Fuck.
how?
Mono
Crow,
got me sick, guys.
you fucking simmer down now.
No.
Never.
No.
Ah,
You're
Jaffron!
sick?
You hit me.
I think I'm getting sick.
You
Allergies
spawned
are bad
there,
right
like,
now, though,
on
to be
the
fair.
button.
Because people that haven't even been around have been missing work because of allergies, so.
Damn it!
I luckily don't have it.
I want to see all this chaos that's happening over here.
I
Ah!
think part of it is the fact that I was like up a lot and like not resting much during the like week prior to you visiting, and then
Yeah, you did a lot of cleaning and stirring up all that dust, too.
Stay.
and then Dalton
You-
just changed out his GPU,
Here's a question.
so that was a lot of dust out of there.
How do I go
Yeah.
from
my god.
having the same yeet level and
Garbodor appeared. Poke catch.
hitting off the
Catch
back
Garbodor.
wall, and that's fine, and going straight into the water. Yet at the same time, when I actually
That
get
felt
the
good.
full yeet, like the proper yeet
Yes.
level,
As
towards the
always.
hole, it fucking
I'm drinking beer now, so.
What are we doing?
I
I
here?
wish I could.
Oh, where are you going?
I
Where are
am
you
drinking non-alcoholic beverages tonight because
Where
of
are yous
this
going?
cold.
Don't pay attention to me.
Yes.
Hey, let's go, fucking birdie.
Mm.
Hey, Birdie!
No.
Going? I just
No.
rolled down the hill.
No.
I just rolled down the hill and still fell into the water.
Oh my god, the windmill is so fast. What?
Yeah, why are you going towards the windmill? You just fly over the edge.
You fly over
Because
the
I'm
edge
a
straight toward the hole.
noob.
We all are noobs.
Man,
So I can go straight from here, from the starting point to the
leave
flag.
me alone.
Nope. Jaffron, you suck.
That's what I do.
That was so close. Forgot.
I need direction.
Oh!
Just go straight to. I went straight to the hole. It's just,
Look at
Y'all
Crowley
need to get
go.
good.
I just got in the hole.
I'm in the
No, I
hole.
wasn't
I just-
talking
Didn't
about
work.
you. I was talking about Dreams and Jaffron.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
get
you're
good.
good.
No, it's good. I suck.
What? What's with the
Hey.
trash talk?
It worked. It worked.
Lady
sorry.
is just. She's crazy
It
to
worked.
me.
If I
Oh,
want to get
Kimono
in the
has
hole,
not
Ladies
yeah,
for
beans.
I just do
I-
me. I just do me. I'm there. I'm straight in that hole.
I got it. I'll
Just
just
get in
keep
the
No,
hole.
turning
Jeff,
it.
don't hit me!
Dreams can handle it. I
Yeah.
won't harm our lovely Canadian friend anymore.
Oh!
I'm sorry.
I got me some of these.
Yeah. Don't mess with the
some
Canadians.
of these. Some of them shoulders.
I forgot that the Canadians are very sensitive.
Yeah, he'll start crying.
Hey, bud, calm down.
Be nice to Jeffron. I'm gonna get you guys.
Jeffron
He's my
is
friend.
a sweetheart. Be nice to the boy.
Oh no.
Y'all are making all kinds of BS up.
He's my friend.
He's my friend. How dare you pick on my friend like that?
I'll always pick on your friend.
I don't pick on
Yeah,
you,
me too.
Michigan. Jeez.
I'm gonna put people in the lockers.
Go ahead.
Yes, artist.
As long as you're coming there with me.
You can if you want, or you can even just test it in here. It's
Three at a time.
So the way that
Should I attempt to
got
join voice
someone-
chat to make sure stuff works? Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
One of the ways that I got someone to stop being a dick.
I'm sure they'll let you know real quick if it's working.
was when they said, "Oh, I'm not gonna stop," and I replied with "Ooh, daddy."
Oh.
What
Wow,
the fuck?
That made them stop real quick. It was great. It was
Debatable.
very effective. 10 out of 10.
Debatable.
Dang it.
What do you mean debatable?
Debatable.
It's not debatable whether it was effective
Kimono,
during that
I
time.
barely missed your kimono.
What? Game? Bull?
If
What?
someone turns around and says, "Ooh, daddy," and then I'm getting stopped, no chance.
Daddy.
No. No. It's not.
My
It's,
game.
I heard you say it because you said to
This
say it.
game? This
No one should ever call me
There we go.
daddy.
This hole is horrible. I hope you all get brains for this.
Whoa.
I
Thank
deserve
you.
brains.
Come on, thank you.
Did you guys crash too? Or...
No.
No.
Lady.
No, I'm
My
about
game
to perf.
Oh, Dream!
Oh, Dream,
Oh.
okay.
Oh, Dream.
Oh,
Yes, I just said that no one should call me daddy,
Ah, shit.
I can't. I don't.
and no one should ever call me
Yo.
mommy either.
Ah,
You
Fuck 'em up.
scummy bastards, yeah.
I'm in the hole, and that's what makes.
Fucking
Get up there.
full yeet.
Yay!
Get your beautiful face and voice chat artist.
We need more.
This is not.
Mark.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
Join us, artist. Let's find out.
She's in the waiting room right now.
Oh, she
Yeah,
doesn't have to
because-
roll. Crap.
I can't go that.
Duck. Oh, that was
It's
too
about
little.
about 1.5 yeets, maybe.
I guess
Oh
she
my
doesn't have
God.
roll.
Just get in the
Oh,
hole.
Oh.
I'm done.
My
I'm
bad,
done,
my
I'm
bad.
Oh yeah, I'm
Let's
not allowed
see.
to give rolls because I'm not an admin.
Dude, I'm not.
Kimono.
We might have to do
Okay.
surgery on my Discord to fix things. Okay, she should be allowed now.
I'm not that
Oh.
bad.
Oh shit.
She's not ready for this. She's
Ah,
AFK.
no.
Oh, I ran out of time.
I also ran out
I
of
ran.
time.
I ran out of
Good job,
strokes.
guys.
Rain is
I think
winning.
Lady's cheating. Yeah.
17, baby.
She's
Let's
cheating.
go.
18. I'm barely legal, guys.
Whoa.
Artist, we joined you.
Wow.
we threw you in
I have
chat.
no comment.
Lady, I've always seen you as a very good friend. Denouncing
Shut
the fact that
up,
I'm barely
bitch!
18 is not a fucking way to go around me. I'll be honest with you. Like, oh, is that right? Cool. Nice to see you.
Anyways,
I'm just joking. I just.
Just ignore me.
shit.
It's fine.
No,
likewise.
Just ignore her tonight. She is definitely not Rain tonight, and it's quite hilarious. but-
I don't
Hi,
even
Mono.
know what
Do
the
you know,
fuck
I
I'm
love
Mono.
that
looking
though.
at.
I love
Hi.
that
Artist.
fucking full
Where
ball.
am I?
You went back to
Hello?
the waiting room.
Oh, here we go. Here
Maybe
we go,
she
here we
wants
go.
somebody to join her in the waiting room and test
I
it.
think she's trying to
We got-
test.
we got a mini,
I
we
think
got a
she's
mini.
just testing it right now.
Yeah, most likely.
Or was that?
I went-
Can't-
How would that
can't
shit?
click that quick.
Kendra.
Can't click
Where?
that quick.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Here we go.
Crowley, you're stuck.
I just hurt
so
myself.
Stuck.
Better lock them doors and
It's not
turn
detecting your mic.
down low.
How about I don't?
There we go.
Low lights hurt
Here,
my eyes,
just to let you
but
know,
also
from
bright
the-
lights hurt my eyes.
just to let you
too.
know, from the bottom of the rack up to the fucking the point is more
No!
than 2
It
yeets.
didn't jump.
More than 2 yeets.
I just give
Oh,
up.
two and a third. 2 and a third yeets.
2 1/3 from the bottom.
from the bottom of like see the back
Mhm.
of the wheel to the
Powerful
seats.
lady.
Okay,
have a
now I'm in the
burp
field.
Woo,
on
thanks,
top.
streams.
Are we good?
You helped me. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, did you get it?
Talk to my
Oh
other
You know what, lady? Sorry, kimono.
No.
I'm here
Huh?
for you. That's alright.
Thank
I'm
you.
here for you.
Appreciate it.
I
This
just-
is a new hole and I hate it.
You
So
just fucking
Get
you
a
roll
new
up,
map.
you support. That's how you do it.
hole.
Your hole.
My fucking game crashed.
Again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That sounds like a you.
Your camera's not working.
Where the fuck is
Where?
the pin?
There's her beautiful face.
Oh,
blame the internet.
Oh.
Blame the interwebs.
we're
No.
fucked. We're fucked with.
Wait, are we actually allowed in the water in this one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
follow the
Oh,
water. Just let the
let's
water
go.
and the wheels
Let's-
beat
let's
you
go.
and
Here I'm
take
getting,
you where they
Let the
may.
wheels
I'm
roll.
getting ridden
Yeah.
like a fucking.
What?
Oh,
man.
fucking
talking
that would have
shit,
been
man.
so cool if that worked.
Kimono.
Hey guys.
Oh,
Yes.
I want to bounce.
nailed
I
it.
want to
Oh
Bounce
shit,
me
that's
back.
not a good idea.
Oh.
Good luck, then, doesn't
Dream,
No,
look
how
right.
about we don't? No.
Get in the fucking hole. Get in your hole.
get in
Nailed
your
it.
home.
Let me
or-
out.
oh, I'm sorry.
Get in your hole, ball.
I'm trying.
I got in the
Trying
hole.
to get in the hole, but I went the wrong way. I couldn't get to the hole.
I love how many euphemisms there are to this game. It's,
I got into the
I
hole.
love
And the
it.
sound effects don't, you know.
Aiden, it's black buck.
You know what?
Okay,
I
is
love Black
detected I believe her. Okay.
What?
Okay.
Yay.
Buck. I love you.
Your
Welcome.
artist is deafened now.
As
Oh,
a
and I'm muted.
sportsman,
There she
the
is.
There she
best
is.
thing that we love in life is euphemisms. Like,
I could
get in
hear
the
her.
hole.
Par.
Fucking show
Welcome.
me the good stuff.
Artist.
That's all fucking
Welcome,
euphemism.
welcome,
Love
welcome.
it.
Welcome, 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 welcome. Where is
Where am
the
I going?
thing?
I don't know.
Oh, there it is.
I'm
Oh.
only
I found it.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's this
I
one.
was looking in the camera.
come here.
Ah!
Turn everybody down.
I
So
forgot
I
to
can
turn
turn
there.
artist up.
Yeah, dude.
I did. I turned her
Turn
around.
her up, 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 turn her up.
Where are we going here? Where are we going?
Don't touch me. Okay, I don't think anyone's
Just
gonna
find.
touch me
Just
here.
find it.
Stubborn.
Well, I don't think anybody's gonna touch you at this point. So
There
it's
we
just
go.
Somebody
a vote.
fucking clip that.
What?
Can somebody fucking clip that?
Somebody clip it.
Guys, I'm in the
Am
crap.
I either too? Am I like I've never played this fucking wrong.
Ah!
Oh, I can't.
I'm either too
You have to
soft or
jump
too.
a little bit. You're right where I was too.
No.
Oh, fuck.
Steven.
Okay.
No! That was rude! Dang tentacle.
There it is. Oh no!
Oh god.
Oh, saved it. Okay, stop.
What?
Oh, lost. No. Okay.
Oh, there's a fucking
Okay.
ramp.
What?
Come on.
Yeah, there goes Kimono.
Bring it that way. Bring it. Fucking mental.
Evil.
Get in the hole.
Absolutely mental. Who's already in the hole?
I'm in the hole, but it took me 10.
Took me like a par.
Dream, I swear to God. Dream!
Dream?
What the fuck is going on?
No!
My way,
ready?
that's what was going on.
Already fucking.
No!
What the
Okay,
hell?
by the log.
Bye, Mono.
Right?
You're gonna get hit by the log again.
No. Yes, I made it.
Oh, dick.
Dodge that log.
Oh no.
But you know what?
Let's see.
Shit.
Adjusting Discord volumes.
Fuck a duck.
Yeah, you have to balance this way.
Dream hit ya.
Fucking dare you.
Fucking. It wasn't me. I blame that on you. It's your fault.
Sorry, I'm
Fucking
being loud.
You fucking knocked me down. I'm at 70.
Anyways, there's only 9 holes, by the way.
Oh, well, 9 holes is clearly enough.
see if all that
I
worked.
don't even know where I went. I don't even know where I went.
I don't know where I am.
Can't even go fuel you.
Mm.
We doing like fucking tweets.
Oh, Michigan. Fuck you.
Oh, Mamma Mia.
I don't even know where I'm going.
But I can't go that way. I don't have enough fucking
I don't
pace
think
to go that
anybody
way.
knows, dude.
Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia.
Fucking.
I just want to cheat and like go around all this mess and go straight to the hole.
Just keep
I can't figure out how to do that.
Big hacks, big hacks.
Yeah, baby.
I'm just glad I'm finding the hole, really.
Yeet! Oh no!
I feel yeeted and it did not work.
That was not the strat.
Wasn't the
Who the
game
fuck?
plan.
Who the?
Here we go.
Wasn't me.
Am I going the wrong direction on this ramp? I'm not sure.
9 fucking strokes. Let's fucking go.
Do you know what? To a lot of people, that's a fucking happy ending.
That's not enough strokes for me. Sorry.
I didn't say it was to you. I just said to a lot of people.
Shouldn't be called golf with friends.
Yeah,
should be,
that's
like,
why there's some extra stuff
golf.
going on.
Are you calling me extra?
Nope.
No, 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 no,
I'm
no! I'm gonna run out of turds.
This is fucking.
Oh my god!
Oh shit!
Chris.
Where am I at?
Get me the fuck in that hole.
No.
Sorry, guys.
Yes.
Rain!
I don't
Sorry.
care. I'm going in that hole with 12 strokes or not.
Oh.
No!
We're overshooting it or not shooting it enough.
All the above?
Oh. I can't.
think.
2.
Oh
1.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Dang, out of time.
Kimono, are you not, did you not get in the fucking...
No.
No, she's
I didn't
right
make it.
there.
I'm sitting
Rude game.
Do
and it's
you guys have a new game starting?
Soon. I think this is the 9th hole, I think.
Okay.
Oh, this.
And this one only has 9.
By the way.
My
I hate this
fucking
one.
Poggers?
This.
my computer's being shit today. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Why?
Not fully.
Why? I just rolled on there.
Oh fuck. Where do I go from here? Oh, that way.
Oh, that was not what I intended to do.
Hi, Rain.
Don't touch me.
You don't want to be touched by anybody today.
But it was just a love tap.
In front of me.
I'm
please.
done
Everyone
already.
move.
I cannot play this fucking course.
Nobody can. It's. Oh, God. Who did I just yeet?
Yeet.
You know what?
I told you
Fucking-
not to
Who did
touch
I just
me.
fucking eat?
Oh, fucking go at you.
Oh. Rip.
Where's the?
No! Hi, Shane. Welcome. Hatney
Oh,
up here, guys. Poke catch.
Need more velocity. Got it.
We are
there we
causing
Too
chaos in
much
here right now.
velocity.
You know.
That's fucking. That's a different.
All right.
Shane,
I'm
you might have
gonna-
to come in
You got
here and
too little.
like
I know.
kick me out. I'm getting a little wild today.
Yup. Rain is being wild.
He's crazy.
Get wild. Get wild.
Whoa,
Oh,
Rain is wild tonight. Just. We need a mod.
that's not.
I'm surprised we're not all banned.
Alright,
I blame the cereal milk she drank.
What the fuck, cunt?
Hey, yeah, something was in
Fuck,
it.
you get
All that sugar.
How the fuck did you get off that wall to then go and get a hole? Yeah.
Ah,
I can't find this one.
All the sugar in the cereal milk.
It's good for you.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ah,
dicks.
Huh?
what
Why
was
is it
that?
You know what to do?
My hair clippy.
Why can I not fucking play my own ball?
Just fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, no!
Has anyone
No,
ever told you you're
Crowley!
amazing personally?
Oh god, you guys.
I'm a
We're
shit
so...
person, it's great.
God, look at all of us.
Have you ever been told that you're an
Except for
amazing person?
kimono.
No, I told him a bitch all the time.
Fucking true.
Oh, I caught it.
Kimono's the only one that got in the hole.
Who won? Who won?
Oh my
Got
goodness.
this cupcake. I have no idea.
Oh, lady did.
Oh, can I join
Did
now?
No, because you're
Can I
fucking
join?
not.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
let's. Yeah, you can join now.
Yeah, lady won, and yes, you
Oh
can.
shit.
I
I actually won for once.
Snap back.
A lot of us got 90s.
We're gonna play an easier
Fucking cheat.
game now.
I didn't even get the brain.
I know. I got the stupid cupcake.
I
want
get a
pink
dunce cap.
I wanted the brain. I'm going into neurology.
Ah.
I should get the brain.
I know that everybody should get the brain because that course is hell, and we need brains afterwards.
That's crazy.
Join.
My brain went out the window.
I will not lie. I forgot.
Why
that
the guy-
I'm sorry, I had to.
Kimono is streaming right now, so I'm just gonna pipe down for a bit.
Jammies.
How dare you?
Kimono's also streaming, and I'm also streaming too. You know that.
Well,
We got
then
two
you're
people
both
streaming here.
benefiting for the fact that I'm shutting the fuck up, innit?
I'll just mute the fuck out of you. How's that?
Sounds like a plan.
How do I join?
Hey, if you say it, you have to donate to my charity. How's that?
Oh.
I can't.
You'd
do
have.
it, so.
She's gonna become the curse jar. That would be bad.
Fingers crossed my Discord doesn't crash
Oh
again.
no, my head.
Yeah, I hope it does good. Is everybody back and ready, or does everybody need a break?
I just need to.
Join.
Do you know what we need?
You need to take a deep breath.
There we go.
Oh,
I
Are
do.
you friends with either of us on Steam?
Do you know what I need? Tell you what I need.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
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 Artist.
Yeah, you're definitely more quiet.
Oh, I
Wait,
need some.
wait.
I need some ice cubes. Hold on.
Drink?
Cheers.
I don't have anything to drink. Sorry, I drink it all.
Well,
I
in
don't-
that
I
case,
don't drink.
Michigan. Sorry.
I'm drinking water.
Oh, are we cheering? Cheering?
I can cheers with my bowl.
No.
I'll cheers with my Sam Summer.
Oi. But it's time for a stretch break. Artist, are you going to join? Maybe.
I think we're trying.
Can you not hear me?
Okay.
I've been asking how can I join for like 5 minutes.
It's
Well, now
hard.
you're a lot
Your
louder.
voice, yours is really quiet. I've got you all the way up too.
Just
But we
yell
can
the
hear
whole
you. It's
time.
just really, really quiet.
I'll make
But yeah, you should be able to just join via Steam.
I will make
Join
sure
via
everybody
Steam?
is quiet.
Yeah, and the password's Kimono.
Okay, how do I join via Steam?
Here. I'll send you a friend request.
Help.
Help.
I DM'd you a friend
Oh, you
request
need
thingy
a
on Discord.
Steam friend request. right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to join off of Rain in the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Ugh.
I know everybody's trying to help, but yeah, so you should have to do
I think this is. I have to log in. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm sorry, guys.
life is so.
Troubles.
No.
Do you remember your password?
No.
Go away to the black book. Oh yeah, there you go. That's the black book. It's like, what's my password?
What's the password? Oh, it's right here.
That's these nuts.
Yeah, these nuts.
Dude, you just told everybody my password.
Wait, these nuts are your password?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My Facebook, my Twitter, everything.
Damn.
Damn.
I was thinking it, but I never said it.
Lou,
You
I'm-
put
I'm-
this into fruition.
I'm going into Joseph's Facebook and posting a bunch of
Okay.
It
It better be
69,
only
is that what you said?
69.
bestiality stuff.
These
Nah,
nuts.
don't do it.
Nuts 69. Let's go.
That is
What?
my fucking password.
Yeah,
You gotta
have
add
to-
420. Add 420 to the end. It'll make it even better.
No, 69 is the only numbers I want there.
Yeah. 100%.
But anybody wants to get on my
Ow.
Facebook, there's
Fuck,
my
Guys,
password.
you want to see this shirt that I bought my husband?
No.
Mhm.
I do.
Yes.
You
Don't
do,
listen
though,
to
'cause
Aiden.
it's gay.
Oh,
You know,
man.
Rain, you do though. 'cause
Don't
it's
listen to
gay.
Aiden. He's an asshole.
He is an
What's
asshole.
the first thing coming on my head?
I'm super nosy, so of course I want to know.
I say
just
yes.
wanna know what it is.
Let's
I
see
just
it.
wanna know what it is.
Okay.
No.
to
Yes.
friend.
It says
Yeah.
by wife energy on it. Why is it?
Oh,
I was
nice.
gonna say.
No,
can't
I
read
see
I
it.
can
I
read it.
see
I
it.
can read it. You're good.
It looks like a Disney fucking what do you call it,
I
like Looney
feel
Tune.
like I need to get
Oh, Looney
Dalton
Tunes,
that
yeah.
one, but like
Yeah,
it
it
needs
looks
to
like a
say
Disney
by
Looney Tunes
husband
thing.
energy.
What?
Well, no, it's the guy
Like
has
bye.
by wife
Or-
energy,
Yeah.
Okay, I added you, Rain.
Okay.
but
Oh, the
also
artist. Okay.
Oh, your
So
volume is
so then
so quiet.
when you get
Yeah, I know.
into golf, it'll have on the top corner will be like a little friend icon, like a little people icon in the top right. And then you should be able to join off of me. You'll just select me,
Oh, that's no.
and like it'll say I'm in online and lobby, and you just select join, and you'll type in the password, which is all lowercase kimono.
But you
But
have to do it quick.
you have to do it quick.
Yeah, you have to be really quick about the password.
yeah, I learned that.
This
the
game
hard
don't
way.
play around.
It's all lowercase.
Yeah, I know. She said that.
Yeah, I got it.
KIMONO. Super quick.
Yay!
There
There
she
you
is.
go. Yes.
Yahtzee.
Yeah, there it
Heck
is.
yeah.
Woo-woo.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll try to talk loud, but I'm not a loud talker.
I'm very
Maybe I
monotone.
can turn
I just
myself. Can I turn myself up?
So if
Yeah,
you
Discord
if you
you
click
should.
on each user, you can change their volume. Like if
No,
I'm
no,
too
not
loud
the
for
vo-
you.
You don't have
Under
to.
your user settings, you should
There's
be
an
able
output.
to
Wait,
under
okay,
voice
can I-
and video on your user settings, turn your input volume all the way up.
I've got you up at 200.
No, it's
So don't you change
your
your
output.
connection because
You
you're
want
gonna
to
blow
No,
my ears
no,
out.
I'm talking. No,
So
her
so
output is for
so that's what I
headphones.
mean. If you
Input is for
if
for
you
us to
right
hear her.
click on each user, you can
Well,
change
maybe I'm
Did I
each
do it
user.
right?
Yeah, but she's trying to up
volume.
her volume.
Oh, okay.
Did I do it right?
No, you're still about the same.
You sound about the same,
You
but
sound fine
under
to me.
if you went under user settings, voice and video, and then put input volume all the way to the top, then yeah, you're good.
All the way to the top, so like.
Yep.
At
All
100%, yeah.
100%.
you?
Yes.
I have
for you.
done that.
Cool.
Okay.
No,
Then
it's
you're good.
it's nothing to do with that.
And then make sure your
No,
what
it's
noise
can-
cancellation isn't
I
like
can-
up too high.
So you've got
Oh,
you've
yeah.
got that all the way up, but it's a Windows thing. So
But
see if you go
anyways.
into Windows and then you go to
No, it's
It could be her
Discord
PC settings
thing.
itself too. It could be under sound settings, device.
Oh,
settings.
yeah, no
If you've got all that all the way up, then the PC settings is you go into Windows in the bottom left hand corner. Up
No,
from
you
that
ain't
you've
doing
got
shit.
settings. What?
Go into sound settings.
Yeah, into sound
Yeah.
settings. Then that's what you have to change, not the Discord shit.
Sound settings
I'm
to
legitimate fucking-
device to 100%.
I'll let someone more competent deal with this than me. I'm just trying to tell you it's a Windows thing.
So
Fucking
I'm
lady.
just laughing at Rain. That's all
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Who's having the volume issues?
Artist.
It's an artist.
Okay,
Oh, it's-
so your issues might be like
It's a Windows thing.
I mean, I can
So-
hear her if everybody else.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
hear her
I can hear her.
fine.
I have her all the way up.
Yeah.
That's fine with
Yeah,
me.
I've got her all the way up as well.
Well, if you
but-
turn everybody else down, then you'll hear.
So
That's what I had to do
Windows-
was turn everybody super
you-
quiet.
You have to realize that Windows and Discord are two different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, we had her check Discord and now we were having her check Windows.
Okay.
Oh, am I supposed to check Windows? I thought. Okay, hold on 1 second. That's two
So
different-
Windows
that's
bottom
very
right.
different. 1 second.
Yeah, sound settings.
1
It's
second.
just like a regurgitation of what I actually just said.
I know. Sorry, I walked away for a moment.
Fuck
I
you,
missed-
you hair
Yeah.
clippy cunt.
Yeah, you're right. I don't use that word when I'm around females.
Oh, I always
Yeah, make sure type in sound settings when you click on Windows and it should pop up an option to go to sound settings.
I don't know where, but it's.
And then when you-
and I'm gonna stab you with it.
So bottom.
And then when you
right,
go
there's an
to
arrow.
input device properties, make sure volume's at 100%.
No, not that one. Not that one.
That
either.
one? No.
How about now?
No,
Hold on,
I
this
might just cut off a little. bit
It's
now.
about the same.
I'm gonna saw it off.
Don't worry about it. We can hear you though.
Oh, there you are.
Take
So
one.
Matthew!
loud.
Hold on. Dig it.
What? No,
So loud.
Hello?
Yay!
So much
I
clearer.
thought that
Well,
I
you
had
might-
to exit out of it apparently. Hi!
So much
Oh
clearer.
yeah. It took me a
Sorry,
second.
guys. Thank you for all of your
You're
help.
welcome.
Goodness.
You're welcome.
We're all a bunch of nerds.
That means I can turn people
we're
off.
gonna fix
Yay.
Nerds galore here.
I'm gonna jump out too and jump back in just to make sure I could hear too.
All the issues.
I'm Mono.
There, that's better.
Well, it's good now. Now we can balance each other.
Alright, I'm gonna hit start,
I
guys,
know.
if everybody's ready.
I went and bought more Mono. Now
Oh!
it's almost all gone again.
Nom 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 nom.
Was it crickets?
No, it's chocolate covered honeycomb.
Oh, sorry. I thought that's what you fed to your chameleon.
Oh goody, my friend is
They're
gonna
always changing
come up with
colours.
stuff.
You're what?
Candyland.
Mm-hmm.
Candyland.
Right, well, hold on. Here, lady.
No.
Kimono, we had a discussion
Fuck
about
you.
this. What are we talking? Is it 3? Is it 3.5 or 3 and a bit eats?
3 and a bit,
How about
I think.
how about you learn?
I don't know. I just do that one. I don't pay attention.
3 and a bit. Oh no, 3 and a bit gets you there, but it has a
Yeah,
double
just get
jump.
there, man.
I love your hat, artist.
Let's call it 3.
That's such an
Oh,
artist
that's my
hat.
hat.
I love that hat. Did you?
Yeah, I thought I got
I
across.
have a dunce cap on.
I has a
That is a
trench coat.
cool hat.
Oh, that is a cool hat. I want that hat.
Oh.
The still.
7 strokes, guys. I'm a 7-stroke wonder.
Stroke wonder, did you say?
That's impressive.
Me too, twinsies.
Hold on. You're a 7-stroke wonder.
7. Yeah, because it took me 7 strokes to get into the hole.
See, yeah.
It took me more.
Why can't everything be this straightforward? 7-stroke wonder.
Oh, 7
Brilliant.
strokes.
I don't know. All I know is I'm
What's the money? Like, you deal with you, I'll deal with me.
Bunny dressed as a kitty.
How did
So
Kimono get
cute.
in 2?
Sorry,
I got it in 2 too,
I
but you
understand.
didn't see
You
the
don't know
2.
me.
Yeah.
Jaffron and artist.
What am I
Somebody
doing?
hit me.
Am I
Hit
out?
me, baby.
One more time.
There it is.
Tip. Nico, Nico, nee.
Oh, shiz.
Hit me, baby, one more time. Whoop, whoop.
I don't
Wait,
know.
what?
I love that.
Nico, Nico, nee.
Stuck. Oh,
Kimono,
there I
like
am.
I said,
Hello, Logie.
see when I turn
Artist
up
is playing in the Neapolitan ice cream.
and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
start
yeah.
playing,
I don't even know what.
Oh
you're
my
playing
god.
I don't even know what to do here. What the fuck?
Damn. Yeah.
Just hit and hope.
See when I seen that you were playing this game the other week there, and I was.
I need a Nico command.
Yeah.
Nico, Nico, nee.
Finally made it across.
And now the fact he's
Oh my
playing
God.
it twice, 2 weekends in a row, I'm like, yeah, man. We got
Fuck.
this.
So you
What
can
we do.
go.
Fuck.
Fuck.
Nico.
Oh
Jaffron.
my god.
Nico,
Nothing
Nico,
that I
Nico, Nico.
You can
Okay, I get it now.
So
keep
then I
jumping.
copy
You'll
paste.
get there.
Copy.
Jump,
Nothing
right.
that I do works.
I'm watching Jeff run.
Nothing really matters to me.
Yeah, just jump
Oh
over
my
that
God.
too.
Mm,
Well, that's
Nico.
Slight power and
yeah.
jump over.
And
Jump. We jump.
No, it worked just fine for him.
general.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Why y'all watching me? Watch someone else. Break off.
No, we
what?
want you to
Rolly,
be
what's up?
nervous.
Wait, what?
Crow, full yeet.
We're watching you.
Bruh.
I tried fully yeet.
Hi,
It
Six.
didn't work.
Well, then it's
Welcome. I just added a command.
Let's go 3 power. 3 power.
Nico, Nico, nee.
Oh, there you go.
Fuck.
That was so close.
Okay.
Just a little bit less.
What you do is.
But hi, Six. Hi. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Fuck it. I don't care.
Added it to the cookie commands.
I can't believe it.
Oh,
And
this one.
Oh, this one.
Fuck me.
An hour later.
edit.
Oh,
And
How do you see where the hole is again? Like,
go.
No idea
you
how
can
the
use
fuck
the
you done
camera
that.
by pressing C.
Submit. And then I added it to the list. How goes it though, Sixer? How are you? Hope you're doing awesome.
I don't know how I made it through that hole, but I did.
Woo. Where am I going?
So now
Which
it's
way's the
added
hole?
to
I
the
guess I gotta
Behind
commands
the
list for
cookies.
cookies.
it somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's
you
literally
did.
right behind that one.
Sorry.
Better lock them doors
Mhm.
and turn them lights down low.
There we
Oof.
go.
oh,
Whee!
Meow.
oh,
Man, I used to be so good at this map, and now I'm just trash.
You just
I'm
didn't do
the
enough
trash
damage.
man.
I'm always trash.
I'm the
Yeah.
trash man. Oh
Sure
God.
you are. Sure you are.
No, Rain!
Sorry.
I can never.
Rain robbing me of hits.
Danny.
Danny Vito.
That's who Trash Man is.
I'm thinking Scrap Man.
It's gone, but in the field. Oof.
No, that's
You're out in the
Scatman.
field?
That's Scatman.
That's scat.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
that's
sounds like a lot of work.
Fuck.
Is it hot, smoky, cool?
Let me up.
What's the weather like?
Means that your
Oh,
generation
yeah.
is
Rainy?
that far.
Hopefully you're not in the smoke
No,
area.
I'm a zillennial, so yeah.
I am.
You're a miscellaneal?
I'm a zillennial.
Zillennial. Okay, sorry.
I'm 18.
I was born in '98, which means that I was born like shortly after millennials.
I might join next
and,
round
like,
if you're still playing
elder
Kimono. Just got back home from visiting some family and doing some double tasking at the moment. No problem, yeah, join us, Jane. I'll be on.
March.
What did you say?
I thought it was 97.
You're still older than me. Fuck you.
The youngest.
Mine's in
Great.
October.
Yeah, I was
97
born
is
on Friday
seven.
the 13th.
Hey.
Jeffron, you can just go over that wall to the right. You don't have to go through that hole. You can just jump over the wall on the right. You don't have to go through that hole.
This is why we're
Yeah.
friends.
October, we up to Libras. Love the Libras.
This is
Time
why
out.
we're
I am
friends.
not a Libra.
Who's born in October?
Oh, that's exactly why
Me.
we're friends.
Who's born in
Not me.
October?
Me. Hello.
You.
Yes.
But
Me.
Scorpio.
I'm a Scorpio.
No! Why does it fail me all the time now?
No.
We're so
Crowley's
level-headed.
Scorpio.
I'm
Crowley
a
is a
Scorpio.
Scorpio.
So level-headed.
No, I got
No.
bumpeted right at the
No.
start.
Sure.
That
You
counted as an extra
clearly never
turn.
met a Scorpio. My grandmother's a Scorpio. I fucking know.
So Libras are so
I'm
Double
level-headed.
a
bogey.
Scorpio, dude. I'm not a Libra.
I didn't say you're a fucking Libra or a Scorpio. I'm just stating a fact of Libra.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because you said that Libra was October, and I said I was October, but I'm
What?
a Scorpio. I think
Well,
that's where the
I'm
miscommunication
October.
was.
I'm October, which is a Libra. But
Yeah,
it
the
depends on
beginning
Yeah,
of
but you
October.
were early.
exactly.
Yeah.
It depends on what side.
Yeah.
All I'm stating is that most people that are born in October, if they're born from the latter half, or sorry, if they're born from the latter half, then they're
People
Libras,
born
right?
in late September
Early.
can also be.
Yeah, which are meant to be supposedly level-headed, but
There we go.
if you
Uh,
fuck them over, then they remember that shit, and they're like, okay, like a channel vision.
What's really fun is I'm a Pisces, but my due date would have made me an Aries.
This is why we're friends.
I got a hole in one. Oh, sorry.
Do you due date? Due date?
Yeah, so I was supposed to
Sorry,
be born March
I don't know what I'm
28th.
saying.
I was born March 13th.
all in one.
I was born 2 weeks early.
Good boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm saying good boy to my dog. Don't make it weird.
Bye, dog.
I do be a good boy.
Yeah, you are.
Hey.
What?
Artist, what the? You just
Buddy.
bounced off trying to win in.
What the fuck is that?
Oh
I'm
gosh.
not sitting there with a
There
fucking
we go.
rocking off all sorts
Someone
of
needs to
fucking
take
things.
away my privileges.
No.
Well, Kimono can.
We need to give you more.
Here she was just asking for more privileges. Now she's telling me to take them away. Make up your mind. Right?
You
Any,
can't.
any Virgos
No, I
here?
think. Hold on.
Any
As
Virgos
the
here with me?
community. What?
No. I don't think so.
I don't believe in Virgos here.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe what?
What?
Pew.
Nah,
There's
it's fucking
Virgos
bullshit.
here.
Oh fuck! Sorry. Almost
They
got a hole
don't
in one.
exist.
I was gonna say, Kimono,
Eagle.
don't you dare.
I don't know what.
Anyways, let's just drink and forget about everything.
Did you
what
know
I'm
that
We
saying.
you
are
can't?
drinking.
Did you know that you can't pluralize the word
Because of the
anyway?
conversation.
That's the problem.
I don't drink, so.
Eat, sleep, work, shit, and drink.
Speaking of
Slash.
drinking, I'm gonna grab another one.
You
Oh,
can
dear.
pluralize anyway. It's called
I drink beer.
Oh my god!
What?
Colloquialism. There we go.
What's that mean?
It means words change either their pronunciation or meaning based on region.
Right.
Oh, okay.
That takes too much effort.
But
Like
you
somebody
can.
says axe
So
instead of ask.
put in a sentence.
So the word anyway, you can
Peers
add
and
an
deers.
apostrophe after
Put in a sentence.
anyways, but you're supposed to say anyway.
Put in a
I
sentence.
don't.
I still Dalton's tall boy.
Put in a
Whoa.
Ooh. You know you have a whole case of Mountain Dews in there, right?
Colloquialism.
I
sentence.
opened one.
Did
I
you?
opened the mango
How
one.
was it? What flavor?
I like the mango one. The mango
Oh,
one.
I'm so jelly. I need to go get a case.
You should. You should. We can
Need a
forget
case.
about the regular Baja, but the mango's pretty damn good.
Right?
We can't hear you, Crowley. Bye, Crowley.
Her inner.
There.
Let's see.
Oh.
Ah!
There.
What kimono?
There. Not.
Let's
Her.
see.
There.
Go, 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 go! Oh, it's gonna be a hole in one. Yes!
Not me.
That person.
Not me.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be totally honest with you.
So a good example for what I'm explaining is saying guys. You don't say guyses. You say
I do.
guys.
Yeah, we do. We say
I
guys.
do.
We say guys.
A word
went
that
too
is
far.
really pluralized.
You hit my ball and you win. So.
Yeah, like sheep.
Ooh.
Like sheep.
Gonna smack somebody.
Sheep and sheeps.
Sheeps.
Sheeps. Nope.
Sheeps.
That's too much eats.
Sheep.
It's like two.
I just want to get in a hole. I don't.
The Mises.
The Mises.
Meese.
The Miska Muska Mouse. I overshot my shot apparently.
Got it.
I know. I saw you.
Curses, thank you for the 49 months. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You were awesome. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to the stream.
No.
I had 6 strokes.
My head is.
Now you gotta talk so we can hear your wonderful goat sounds. Yeah, that. If the bot responds, the bot's not gonna do it. Look, he's been denied.
Yeah, I know.
He broke the bot. There it goes. It's very slow. It's very slow today.
I'm gonna shut up for a while because I'm.
Yeah, there you go.
Out for a second.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the bot today. Maybe I need to restart the bot. It's like doing the commands, but not the, Let's restart it. Let's restart the bot. It's doing half its job.
Go fuck
See
yourself.
it.
Whoa.
Actually, funny you mention that. I love it.
Oh, jeez. See, Shane? See, Shane? See what we're talking about here? Rain is off the chain tonight.
I see the same thing to you. That's fucking. Do you know what? I know that's what you want me to do.
Zero filter.
Don't hit me, Michigan.
I know. I didn't hit.
Lady.
Rain has no filter. Oh, I bumped Michigan. Sorry, Michigan. Yeah, bot's back up. And it's working.
Well, take care.
Rain never has a filter.
She's leaving.
I head out because I have to early for work in the morning.
All right, Crowley. Thanks for hanging out. Good luck at work.
I don't have to work, but working tomorrow, so I'm good.
Bye.
I love it.
I have Bible study in the
I
morning.
am on the weekend break.
Ugh. And
Goat screams, best screams.
I always have weekend stuff.
The only thing that I think about after that comment is like, how much of it is real and how much of it is like fucking ADHD. Yeah, you need to fucking. Oh.
Pretty sure I don't have
Double
ADHD.
scream because she just joined back after the bot went back.
I think I
What I
have a
mean to
touch
say
of
is, like,
autism.
Oh yeah. So it's like how much of that is
I'm
just
perfect,
like
so.
she just. Wow.
Alright, Jeff Rod, you got this, man.
Like,
Yeah, bro.
You can jump over that wall too.
You need to generally just shut the fuck up.
Most of it is just never like. You would know if I really needed you to shut the fuck up.
I need some wine.
Fair point.
Me
Like,
too. Have
that's
some
up to
minutes.
you.
I've seen
That's up to
like,
both of
I'm gonna go
you.
work on my outline like
Who?
after.
Your outline.
It doesn't sound fun.
What are you doing? Fucking paint a picture.
Yeah, it's
I can
really not.
outline something.
Yeah, yours should be too, I think, Shane. If not, I can make it a command too. It may not be.
I need to learn how to make that and make commands from for my people.
What is it?
Yeah, I do it for my mods and some VIPs. They get their own entry sound when they join.
Whatever
Maybe
the fuck
Kimono,
I
you can
feel
help
like.
me. You can teach me that one day.
I got a whole one.
Yep, yep, yep.
Got it.
Oh, thank
Got
you.
him.
I was in the hole cheering you on.
Oh my god, you just made me get a fucking hole in one. Thank you.
Denied.
Why are
not
some
welcome.
holes like really hard and some really easy?
It's just a fact of life.
But you're not gonna like it.
Yeah, that's just the story of life, really.
It's over 9,000. Oh yeah, I didn't add that one either. To the list of commands. I forgot about that one.
Thousands of years.
Okay.
This is a fucking. Do you know what, Jeffron? That's the best question you could ever ask. Because
I know,
there's
it's
women here that even they can't fucking answer the question because they've just got their whole.
Events.
They'll just stop.
Yeah, it's human nature. It's human nature, man.
Well, see when someone gets the hole, like as in like a hole in one.
Yes.
I mean in like a game wise. I mean I'm referring to the game.
How dare
you're not.
I totally am.
You're offended? What the?
I'm not offended to nothing.
Can I save
Just
it?
to answer your question because they're on to the next
I'm
hole.
gonna go on this
And
bar.
that is the reason why you will never understand what the fucking hell the
Commands.
I got a birdie, so I'm
just goes on to the next
New.
I'm so confused.
Who's got a sweet voice?
There's me.
Well.
I made it.
How did artists get what? You hit that and then went this way.
No, it's not lady.
What?
No,
The
you
hat?
hit. I don't know.
Oh, I know. It's artist. She's got the best.
Fucking pipe down.
I don't know. The game said it was new, and I wanted to customize my shiz. So, and it said I had it. So I was like, yeah, that's me.
No, there we go. There we go. No, don't go out.
Fucking.
Hey, good.
Fuck.
Right?
Do you know?
I know.
Full blast.
And I didn't say that.
I'm trying to go full yeet. I'll be honest with you. I'm trying
You gotta
to go full
jump
yeet.
for it right
You're
there.
not trying hard enough.
There we go.
You gotta be quicker than that.
Yeah, Dream is not
You also
quick.
gotta be a little harder.
Yeah, and not hard enough.
And faster. And stronger.
Yeah,
and
and
just
stronger.
better. Just do better. Just
Oh,
do
dude.
better.
Oh,
Just get better
Just be a fairy.
overall. Just the
I have
whole
some advice.
picture.
Get good.
Hold on.
picture.
I'm gonna use my male fucking.
You're a man.
Oh, good. I haven't heard a man talk shit in weeks. It's very impressive.
I'm gonna go like partial full yeet.
Hey, you
With a
wanna
bit
try
of-
this one?
So
nice.
Why is that not a
you want to
thing?
hear someone
This
talk
watermelon.
shit about women?
Sound files.
No.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Have you tried
No,
it
like
last time, huh?
she said she hadn't heard a man
are you
talk
trying?
shit in weeks.
Scream, salty.
Huh?
It's very impressive,
Anyways,
actually.
Dream, get in
I
the
now
hole.
work in an office. I don't hear it every day.
Shane, I don't even know how your command is working. It's not even set up as a sound file.
I want to win this. So I'm gonna be very focused.
You wanna win this?
So do I. That's what I was doing.
That did not work. I got
I'm
put into the abyss.
I'm gonna win this.
No, I'm fighting Kimono.
I think you missed my last comment.
I don't care who
Okay.
you're fighting.
With the heart.
I'm fucking gonna beat you.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
have
beat
my
your
intro
ass.
sound as a command, KimonoKat. But it would be cool to edit my help command to replace here with Hogwarts. Okay.
No, I'm fighting Kimono because she's in.
Like the original quote? Yeah, just
Oh
hold
no.
on. I don't think I
I got
understand.
weeded. Everywhere but where I
Thanks.
can go.
I need one of these.
Appreciate it. Cheers, Saffron. Whoever the fuck that was,
Oh.
I
That was
appreciate it.
me, yeah.
Cheers,
I'm in the
buddy.
hole. So.
I got a double snore.
No.
Your intro sound is a command? Yeah, I'm working on making the intro sound as a command now. That's why I'm like so distracted. Because I'm like, why is it not a command?
Because apparently Shane's not as loved as the rest of us.
I think it's because he was one of the first people, is why.
You're always just this one shirt.
I don't need it as a command. Nah, yeah, Shane doesn't.
Wow.
You can't just gaslight people into wanting shit. It's not how this works.
Really? Surely
But I will. To be
gaslighting
fair,
is
I'm
a
going to
name for the
gaslight
reason.
people into wanting fairies.
You gaslight people into
The
wanting
Fae away from me. I do not want them near me. That was
No,
too
I'm-
much.
fairies.
Okay, not actual fairies, but like book fairies.
No, no, no.
No, you don't want
no.
sexy fairies.
No, you bought until you feel
I like
pleased
you
by
think I want a sexy fairy in my life.
Yes.
There's one.
Fuck that one up.
And then I'll work on the other one too. You said you wanted changes to the other one. Oh, no, I messed this all up.
You keep that away from me.
Yeah, no comeback here.
Oh, Kimono
Yeah, no.
fucking it up? Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did. I really messed
No, you
up.
give us cum, we don't give it back.
I'm out. Peace, guys.
Lady.
Just change my help command to match the original quote.
Who took over?
Hold
on.
I'm not sure why I suggested changing it to in the first place. I don't know.
Who took over Lady, though? I'm curious. Because somebody took over.
Fuck if I know. No!
Here to Hogwarts? Okay, let's see.
It's a cum race.
It is.
I've already finished.
I did it, I won.
Yeah, I already finished
never
too.
said that before.
I finished in 2.
I finished it in 1 stroke.
That's
I
not
know,
impressive.
I was right there.
That's really sad.
I got myself, I think, in 2 strokes.
I told you I was going to be
Finishing
right.
in one
Help shall
stroke.
always be given here to those who ask for it.
I mean,
Help
you must be
shall
doing slow,
always
right?
be given to Hogwarts to those who ask for it? What? I'm so confused.
Yeah. It was,
Type it exactly how you want it to appear, and then I'll rewrite it.
Sorry,
Shall always be given here at Hogwarts. Okay, here at Hogwarts.
I'm gonna be done the slide. Ooh, what a pretty slide. Let's go. Slid slide.
She loves the
Am I going the wrong way?
Yeah.
I think I might have
You're like,
done
ooh, a slide.
Submit. Here we go. It should be good.
I don't know where am I supposed to like?
Oh yeah, if I would just hit it a little harder and.
Okay. Oh my god, Nasha! She scared the shit out of me.
Well, you just hit it as hard as you
No.
Okay, so
There we go. Birdie.
Well,
You're welcome.
You have to aim. You have to aim.
So, artist. Yeah, you're out of the clip. Okay, so now you're back at start.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the best.
Cookies.
Well, you were close. Just not a full yeet. Total full yeet. Go like three and a bit. 3 and a good bit.
Okay.
No, 3 and a good bit.
I may have spelled it wrong.
That one isn't alright.
I thought I spelled it wrong.
Near the door, and then there's this lamp over here.
Artist. 3.
She's talking to me.
What is this?
Ah, let me fix that.
Is that your mum in the background?
What the fuck?
82.
What?
There's 82.
I added an R. Like electro.
You should know that I cuss. Like, that's my native language.
Yeah.
Come again? Say again. What's your native language?
Swear.
There we go. Now it's fixed.
Just like mine.
Swears. Oh yeah.
Words are hard.
You're fucking appealing to a Scottish.
I'm fine, bro.
I also fixed this.
Aggravating.
Anyways, by the way, can anybody hit Kimono real quick though? Cause
No!
There's you can unplug it if you want, and then
You're not allowed to hit me.
several over
Welcome,
there, and
Tex!
there's one behind the couch, and then there should be
I'm a
one in
little
the...
slow, but welcome.
You can use whatever one you
You're a little
want.
slow.
I
The
got
couch
a
one you have
hole
to
in
undo
one.
the thing,
I
but
got
if
a hole in
that
one.
one might be
Oh,
easier.
fucking
Or that one over there. You can
half
unplug
eat
and
to the-
fix.
Jen says hi. Boop.
We got ourselves a wee pot. We got ourselves a wee
A
pot.
little slow?
I got
Yeah,
a
because
hole
it's cold.
Yeah.
He joined a while ago, and I didn't say hi.
That did not work.
What hole is it?
What the heck? I
Anybody
almost got
hit
all in one.
Kimono, though? It's for charity.
Artist,
Oh,
so when are you gonna
hello.
come
What
here
is
and have
this?
a little cuddle puddle?
How much fucking sinking is that?
I still think Artist needs
Do
to
you
come
need
over
help?
here
It's
and
like
have a
you
little
can kind
cuddle
of see
puddle
what,
with me.
unless you want to use my cord that's over there. Is yours a C port or is it? It's an apple, isn't it?
It's a banana.
Oh wait.
Oh, that's a nice looking kitchen. Oh, cat.
If you want to. Oh, I am not paying attention.
Basically, my cousin has been sat there.
Meow.
It's one of her relatives that he has, and she can smell him.
I can finish this and then see. I don't know. You bring it.
Kitty.
Whatever. Just let me know.
Oh, she's going.
Maybe a
Hey, it wasn't me
What
this
the
time.
frick is this? What are we doing? What is going on?
Oh, go in the
KimonoKat,
water.
that's
Go
it.
in the water.
No.
What?
Have fun.
It was me. I'm sorry, Tifa.
Sorry.
Okay, you can
I
go
did
the
not
long
mute
way.
myself, did I? Oops.
Go the long way, by the way.
I
Just
have
go the
no
long way.
manners.
Yes.
She gone.
I have zero filter, so.
Oh, Birdie!
Zero filter, no
Mick
manners.
Grubby! Thank you for the loves, Mick Grubby!
motherfucker.
Welcome to the
Also, no
stream!
coffee.
Oh my god.
I hope you're doing awesome!
I've been in the hole so long ago, I don't
that
know where
hurts.
it's.
Can I get a shout out for Mick Grubby? Please.
Granny.
No shout out
Actually,
ever.
Crisis and Shane can do the
Hi,
job.
Granny.
Exactly! Crisis is in there! That's what I'm talking to you, Rain! I know you're out of service tonight.
Yeah. She left her brain somewhere.
I could definitely be of service to a couple of you, though.
Oh
Whoa.
gosh!
Just you pipe down.
Somebody is a little bit.
Just you pipe down. I'm not.
Rain is out of service.
All are.
You can serve me in
She's
5 hours,
broken.
I'll be there.
We broke her.
She's broken. She's like 50 Shades of fucked up.
No,
Yeah,
she's
she's
50
broken.
grades. Yeah.
Like I've seen what you girls are interested in. You know, 50 Shades of Grey and everything like that. I'm just telling you, 50 Shades.
I am not interested in 50 Shades of Grey.
You read that book
That
3
is
times a
fucked
day.
up shit.
50 Shades of fucked up. That's what I'm calling you.
Give me some sweet face smut, though. That's
You
great.
what?
She doesn't know what
My
alcohol is.
lovely
so she-
fairy smut.
Come again?
My fairy smut. My fairy smut.
F-
Fairy smut.
Away. Give me my vampire
Sorry.
smut.
I didn't know.
I do
whether that
have
was
some.
like
I do have vampire smut too. It's great.
Why does it keep doing that?
I literally
What the
had
fuck is going on?
I don't know.
A message in my head that said "fairy slut."
I'm
That's the
sorry.
reason
I'm
why
trying to
I had
listen.
to, I had to ask you several times.
Ah!
Okay.
I thought that I.
I'll be a fairy slut.
confused.
Sure, let's go.
Hold on. Make sure you hit tomorrow though, because
We don't play this.
No, you can't hit me.
No, you cheat. I see.
No, I don't cheat.
She cheats.
Can I let you know? See that?
Going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship, flying through the sky.
Ah,
this is hilarious.
dreams! You're so big.
Just you fucking simmer down there, son.
Huh?
Just you simmer down.
I'm a lady.
Oh, Kimono. What?
Bye.
Unbelievable.
Oh, there's a fucking.
That almost
Lady
worked.
in your name, so how are you a
There's a
lady?
You almost boosted me over the thing.
It was me, cause
No, 2.5 yeets doesn't cut it.
I guess I
Kimono.
could just crown you as a lady. It'll be fine.
2.5 yeets doesn't cut
I
it. Let's go.
screwed myself over trying to.
Just
not-
under full yeet. Just yeah. Just under full yeet gets it there, and then we go maybe like just under 3.
No, what the heck? You guys are so trolling me. Michigan.
It wasn't me. It was Dream.
It wasn't me. No.
I'm still trying to get in the hole. Kimono's just making it awkward.
I'm good at that. I'm good at that part.
Well, I got in with
I have
folk,
no issue
so
getting into Bono's
Whoa.
Anyways.
I love the innuendos. I generally love the innuendos. So good.
Anyways, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
You've done like a badass like, goth makeup look and then do that on.
Well, we're talking about the fact that
Cutting
Kimono
clip.
got in the hole before me,
Damn
but
it,
I got
Michigan.
8 strokes.
I'll give you 8 strokes.
Not enough.
Fucking right, you will. Can't wait.
It might be 7.
Can you guys believe that this is all just one like book that I've been trying to write over and over again for 10 years?
Don't lie to yourself. No chance you fucking right.
I'm right behind you, Michigan.
Oh, I worked so hard.
Hi guys, it's a party.
Do you know what?
Who left?
Rain,
I don't want my balls.
Oh, Dragon?
Rain, I'm sorry, I didn't. Rain, don't, please.
Oh,
I beg.
who hit me?
What?
Trolls.
Where's
Trolls.
This is the hardest hole to get to, by the way.
Why'd you hit me?
So many roadblocks.
I'm gonna hit everybody by accident.
Because I'm trying to pressure you with the fairies.
That was an accident, Jeffron. Oh, God, somebody hit me, though.
It was an accident, Kimono, sorry.
It's okay. Everybody was doing it on purpose. It just blends right in.
I did it because I wanted to win, but then it screwed
up.
Did you get your hole at the same time I got my hole?
I'm very.
You were there with me, so.
Maybe. That just sounds wrong.
No, Dream, you remember because we both did it at the same time.
I didn't know who it was. All I know is that someone got the hole at the same time I got my hole.
I know, that's why we give that high five at the end. You don't remember that?
Oh my gosh.
I mean like golf hole. And
oh, he was confused about the other time.
I can see Lady's face.
Damn it.
And Lady's face is telling me to shut the fuck up.
No, Lady's gonna tell everybody.
She's gonna be the next one to make a comment. Who are we kidding?
Can I red square tail? Can I customize in the thing?
I can see Lady's face.
Yeah.
She's just like,
customize your ball while I go to the bath.
Fucking 50.
I will
Sorry, I can't help
absolutely
it. Both
customize
Bono
my
and
ball
Artist
while
have
I
kind of
speak.
just seduced me, so.
Rest in bed.
What? What do we do?
Oh, Rain.
You love people, but you're like constantly mad. You have no idea how much I love you.
No, I have resting bitch face.
Oh my
I'm
god!
on it, guys.
Chloe?
Because you're resting.
I think I'll be going to bed. Okay, Tim. Thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate you. I hope you get some amazing sleeps.
Hey, get some V.
Alright, I think Shane was joining us. Shane, if you're joining, we stopped and we are on to the next round. If anybody else wants to join, now's your chance to jump in.
Pee break?
Don't behave.
Yes, take a break.
Damn it. No, I have to behave.
I need
now
more
because
fluids
Shane's
too.
here.
No, you don't. That never stopped you before.
This is true.
He will fuss at you, but it never stopped you.
I want you all
Yes.
to know that I love you.
That's why I sing song hubby. It's
You're all
fine.
amazing. Take care of yourselves. Be well.
Alright, you too, Jeffron.
Stay awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for hanging out and playing with us.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I just want
Oh,
you to
okay.
know that I love
He's just being snappy.
So sweet.
you.
Being a Canadian. like you
Disgusting.
Oh gosh, you guys.
I just want to.
I'll be right back.
Like cherish your family, cherish your friends. Be happy. Yeah, be awesome.
And donate to my charity.
And donate.
Yes,
Yeah.
do that.
When you can,
donate to
if you
Stack
have
Up
the money.
for
Yes.
Tifa. Yes, if you have the money, donate to Stack Up for Tifa.
I pay
I'm
for
sorry,
school.
I had to throw it out there. I'm sorry.
We got you.
I'm a Monday stripper.
Yeah.
No, you about to be a Friday stripper, man.
I passed you on a Tuesday.
We have
I go to work on a Tuesday.
How do you say your name? Sturko.
Oh, it's
What?
just Shane. Just say Shane.
Just call him.
Yeah, I just go by Shane.
Oh, Shane. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Easy.
I'm Jaffrey. Nice to meet you.
So,
I have a
you
lot
too.
of friends.
I
Oh,
feel
he's
like
trouble. That's what he is.
I feel like I've met you once before, like
You've
several months
definitely
ago.
met Jaffron before.
Yeah.
You guys have definitely met.
Oh yeah.
I think it was just like a short, brief moment, though.
Yeah, it was a very magical night.
In this channel.
There's a lot
or
of
somewhere
magic.
else?
I
Yeah,
mean, it's
in
always
this channel.
magical here.
No, I'm gonna feed Lady all this horrible information. She'll just go.
Anyway,
off
I'm
it.
just gonna have a wee and I'll be right
I
back.
can make it an even more magical night for Mono. I'm just saying.
I have to go
Whoa.
pee, guys, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, well, she was just there.
Or artist, if she's up for that too.
Damn.
She's like, no comment.
I mean, artist is closer, so.
This is true. I could literally be at your place by midnight.
You could.
Whoa, artist has been like this dark horse.
I just need the address.
Says fuck all, and then all of a sudden it's just like, wow, like she's there.
I can't help it. I'm like the boyfriend. I like goth girls, okay? I can't help it.
Fucking A. Walk out with the cock out, mate. Well, I don't know how much that's gonna appeal. It's just, all I mean is like fucking full throttle.
Let's see.
You know what I mean, like fucking go full throttle.
Kimona, you're still streaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I am.
I'm gonna shut the fuck up for the next.
It's 18 plus tonight anyway. It's community night.
No, it's more like 30 and up.
It is, yeah.
30 and up, no.
I'll be back in a minute. I need to go.
We need a little bit of maturity of these.
Maturity? The fuck you talking about?
Right. I think we went the opposite direction.
Can somebody give Lady a ride home?
Yeah, she needs a ride
I was
home.
supposed to be here for, but that didn't really work out yet.
Nope.
Lady needs a ride
I really wish I had a third monitor.
I only got 2.
Like,
That's great.
I have
I
one.
have Discord over here. I got golf here and a mono stream over here. It's great.
See, that's
I
exactly
have
what I
one
need.
monitor.
Because
I'm gonna hear it.
I technically only have one because I have my laptop playing the game and I have my phone for Discord, but I need a third monitor for stream so I can mod still.
Yeah, I was about to say mod. Yeah, you have to mod.
You could literally just go buy a monitor and get a like HDMI cable and extend your displays. It's great. That's what
Or
I
you
do
just go to
sometimes.
Goodwill
So
and
like
just
I'll
get a
hook up
crappy-
my laptops to the bedroom, but sometimes I hook up my laptop and it just becomes a
See.
secondary display.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah?
might have to pick up another monitor sometime.
Yeah, dude.
Totally worth it.
You all ready?
I've been
Oh,
already.
maybe.
Yes, I'm here.
Well, I guess we are.
I know, I hit the button before I asked, because I'm a blonde.
We are in Shrek.
Well,
We're in Shrek.
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah,
Shrek
we're in
supposed to
Shrek.
be in us?
Let's go.
Bouncy house.
Is he going to Shrek us?
Yes.
Yo.
Oh, no.
It was me and hold on. It was me and Donkey that night, anyways.
Oh God, does anybody remember Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life?
Yes, unfortunately.
Oh.
Never had to watch the videos, but I knew about
never
them because
seen
I have
it?
a brother. No. I have
you
brothers.
need to.
I
You
have
need to
brothers.
see it at least
That's all
once.
I needed. Nope. I'm good. I can live without that.
It's like when Boku no Pico was doing the rounds. It's like you had to.
Thanks for the retweet,
my-
Sixer. Thanks for the
Definitely didn't see that
retweet.
either.
Nick Dothy.
Well, that didn't work.
All my friends saw it. I never did.
I did Kobe there and went right in.
I missed it.
Oh,
I forgot to hit artist. Forgot to touch balls with her.
Don't hit artists. That's rude.
No, hitting balls.
Hit me,
What if
mommy.
she likes it? Yeah, see?
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Well, you might have all done that I done that. I done my sister-in-law and she didn't fucking complain. She was stuck.
I got
in
some-
the fryer.
Some hummus
What
here, Brain. Hummus
You could have
and
gone the other way. It would have been way easier.
carrots and stuff. Yes.
You could have
This
gone
is
over
probably
the
my
line.
dinner, because I've only had one meal today, because I slept through the entire day.
You should probably have some protein, Sam.
I was working through the whole day.
Yeah. Hummus is protein, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
made out of beans.
And turkey.
Kinda. Chickpeas are a bean, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's so easy to get whole ones.
Any type of pea is protein.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Done.
Not necessarily.
Try to tell that to a fucking gynecologist.
Not all of them, Rain.
It's all pea.
What I mean is beans are a really good form of protein.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Yes. So I have hummus and veggies and little crackers here.
I'm a
Never
gardener,
tried
so
hummus before.
Don't fuck with me.
Oh, that did
It's
not work.
great. It's fantastic. You should try it.
I messed up.
Pea?
I wanted the unicorn floaty.
What's this way?
No. Hummus, you dumb shit.
Not that. Don't go
I mean,
backwards. It's
maybe
not the
me
right
and
way.
you should talk about who hits first. No, because me and you hit at the same time. I think we should have
Can I save it?
talked about it.
No.
Oh,
Lady?
yep. Bumped into each other and knocked each other out of the hole.
Oh, it's right there. I'm dumb. Oh, that's.
I know we
I
don't.
thought it was like.
Save it.
Oh my god.
You're not dumb. It's a video game. Who cares?
I thought it was like way up, like where the balloon was. I don't know why. In my defense, I've never played this before in my life. I literally downloaded it tonight. In my defense.
He's okay.
I hope you win.
I usually don't actually watch.
I
We're
just
gonna leave that alone.
Do
Is this the
not
right
hit the
hole?
bumper thingy.
I think this is the right hole. Sorry, I don't know.
If you are not sure, don't go for it.
Okay. Noted.
Go through this hole.
No! But hi guys, I am
See where
blowing
this
in the
magical
wind.
hole leads
No,
me.
but hi guys.
Oh.
Oh!
Here we go
Rain!
again!
Where's the hole?
What?
Where's the
Rain bumped me.
I didn't do that.
With a
the
giant
hole?
foam
Mhm.
finger.
I don't know what are you talking about.
That was the first time you said that.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Fuckers.
Oh, I went the wrong way. Oh.
I'm too busy flying.
Not the first time I've said that neither.
I just
Yep.
want to find the hole.
Oh.
Maybe the last year.
Definitely not.
Yay!
I've been doing
Made
it
it.
for a while.
Dang it. I fell down.
Going around town.
Where's the hole? Oh, there it is. I can see your hole.
Whoa.
I've been doing that for a while, guys.
Someone saw me go all the way around that like 3 times.
Fuck. You
I don't know.
Is it you?
No.
Yeah, I can tell whether it's a no or whether it's like a.
I have like rice crackers too.
Rice crackers are really good.
The multi-seed ones.
Oh,
I probably make too much
Where are you
noise though.
going?
I
What
don't
was
know.
that?
I'm going on adventure.
We're just going on a trip.
Adventure time!
My, very high load.
Hey. Better lock them doors and turn them lights down low.
Hello.
Put
Girl, I
some
have to lock the
music
door,
on
that's
it
kinda
slow.
Nah, I need a, like,
Michigan, don't hit that
hard
jump.
pass.
I'm gonna hit whatever jump I want.
Alright, crazy. Alright, crazy.
No, I lost my lead.
Jaffron is winning.
Michigan.
Are you fucking strapped to the neck or something?
Alright. Full speed ahead.
Oh,
Fuck. Oh.
I messed up.
This is literally the story of every guy in life. Sorry. Like, we're all drunk and trying to finish the whole.
No! Where am I going?
No! That's bad.
Yeah, except my guy is a lightweight.
Oh.
No!
Oh yeah,
Apparently
We
so.
think that's where to go. We're not there to finish the hole.
I don't think everyone in this lobby has heard me mention my joke about I have to ask that question sometimes at work where the hole's at.
Oh no. No.
Where do you work?
Oh no.
Maybe a joiner.
Oh, you know, in a hospital where there's all kinds of holes.
Oh, there is.
Are you a joiner? You a joiner?
So usually when I ask where the hole is, it could be anything from an orifice to a bullet hole to.
No, the hole's up your butt.
Oh, he's a doctor.
Yeah.
What
No,
if
I'm
they
not a
get
doctor.
shot up the butt though?
Are you a surgeon?
Not
or
in
what?
that way. It's like a
Nurse.
No, he's even better. He's a nurse.
I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of. I've seen bullet holes in several places, but that's not one of them.
Oh,
What-
not up
what-
your butt.
Hey, can you see me?
That's just a
No.
horrible aim.
Right, as soon as I've
You know
got a
what?
doctor here,
I respect your job.
I'm gonna show you my X-ray.
I respect your job and your profession, but at the same time,
What do you
I'm
think to
gonna-
that?
What?
Oh, I want to know this doctor's opinion.
It's not a
He's
doctor.
not a doctor. He's a nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
That looks a little
Well,
broken.
you broke your. I don't really do X-rays, but you break your collarbone there.
No, it's
No,
his
it's
shoulder.
my
He has a
humerus.
Or, oh.
There ain't no fucking human.
My humerus
bone. You
here,
can't
like
break
this
it.
part here
He
is
broke
just
the whatever you call it.
dislocated
right.
that many
See,
times. It
this-
Okay.
worn away.
This
He has a
collarbone was
chip.
broken when I was a babby.
It's your scapula.
But I feel
Oh
all
no,
the
there's a
pain here.
tendon that they've
and
got to
broken.
pull
back
around
here.
and pin. Oh, it's gonna be horrible.
Ooh.
At least I'm not in last
Tifa
place.
is in the lead now.
Doctor,
Yeah.
what's that called?
Tifa's kicking our booty.
He's not a doctor.
Oh, scapula's not back.
He's
Yeah.
a man in the...
Scapula's up. Scapula's up.
See,
No, but
No, it's the
Your blade back here.
No, the blade.
Oh,
The
yeah,
shoulder blade.
yeah,
is
it's
the
on
scapula.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The scapula was like your where the collarbone
Oh,
met your
No.
torso.
Why am I scared every time I get close to getting in the hole? I'm afraid somebody's gonna hit me.
You're gonna make me whip out my anatomy textbook. I haven't
Whoa,
looked
don't
up
whip
on
it
this
out.
in a while.
Speaking of, I wonder if I should.
Did you unlock the things that we don't know?
When you get that close to the hole, it just fucking annoys you.
Yes.
Log in. I wonder if I
Fucking
can
go.
take medical terminology this semester.
You fucking scoundrel.
Oh yeah.
Let me do it online.
You know what? I'll be honest with you, wholeheartedly. I think I've genuinely missed this. Like the other week there, when I went away and obviously done my own thing and came back, I had full intention that I was gonna just sit and chat. But it was that point in night where you sort of played golf with friends and I wasn't here. And now that I'm here and I'm a little bit drunk and I'm just having a bit of a laugh before I have to go fucking so far down the country that I don't even know, it puts me out of fucking nervous disposition.
Oh no.
I'm generally just in happiness.
Good.
Like that I'm here chilling out, he's all playing golf.
You should not be happy.
Why?
So by the
No,
by the way,
because she's not happy. That's why.
I am happy.
this
Actually.
was
You scoundrel.
this paving slab was my anatomy book.
Oh my god.
No.
Yeah,
It's like bigger as my head, and
What?
How do you move forward when you're in the water?
You jump.
I'm jumping.
Yeah, my psychology book is.
Just
nothing.
stop jumping for a minute.
Don't jump and I'll move you. There you go.
Oh, okay.
My psychology book.
And then jump the wall right there for the flag. It's right beside you.
I really like the Leaf books because I can just buy a fancy binder and dedicate
There
it
you
to
go.
that. Great, I love it.
Liddy, got no interest
No.
in fact.
What?
Got an interest in fact.
No one cares.
That as well.
Cottony.
What were you saying? Sorry.
Poke catch.
See if you were to do an evaluation on myself as a psychologist.
I really hate this one. Somebody tell me how many yeets it is.
That book would be fucking.
How many yeets is it or not? Is it?
That book of invite.
That
Yeah,
book
probably. You got too many
No.
I'm gonna go
Ooh.
2.5 yeets. I'm gonna go 2.5 yeets, and I'm gonna go.
Okay. Let's see if you make it at 2.5.
5 degrees to the right.
Okay.
See how it goes. With an instant jump.
Now then, we've got Arnold Palmer in the chat.
So 2.5 is too much.
I overshot it, yeah. On the other
Yeah.
side, though, You don't
No.
need
Definitely
to
not
10 with
on
that,
palm
so
right.
I'm gonna go like 1
No!
and 3/4. 1 and
Mother.
3/4 each.
Up.
With no jump.
Under 2 was too little.
How's this?
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
1 and 2/4 each from
Well,
that
I'm
side
in the
was too
hole
much.
already, so I don't know what you're
So
complaining.
if you're on the other side, I'm gonna go like this. Oh, you got it.
Finally.
Nailed it. Yeah.
2 yeets was too much.
Moving on it.
Oh.
Matthew!
Google.
You already have it? You caught it?
Ah, fuck.
I didn't catch it.
Guys, should I take medical terminology as well?
You should take medical advice.
No. No.
Apply to NASA.
No!
No.
I messed up.
Not
Finally.
all.
Yes. What?
Are you saying no, I shouldn't take it?
Sometimes.
I don't know. It depends on how many classes you're gonna take, because that's gonna be hard.
I've already taken 2 classes.
I would just start with 2 since it's been a while.
Yeah, don't over. Yeah, don't over.
Classes are
Yeah, I
hard,
would start
don't
with
do
2
them.
since it's been a while.
Straight into the crack.
Has it been a while for you, Mono?
It has. It really has.
Thinking straight into the crack.
Yeah, we heard it the first time.
Rain was no help.
About 30 seconds.
I wasn't feeling frisky then, I'm sorry.
Like I said, like I thought I was crazy tonight, but
How about now?
Do you know what? I'm actually surprisingly calm tonight.
Maybe a little
yeah,
bit.
you're actually in second place right now. I'm crazy.
Maybe a little frisky tonight.
Fucking bring on Dalton. Get that gun around.
No, I'm gonna be too intoxicated by the time I go to bed.
Stepha's still in the lead, followed by Shane and KimonoKat.
I've already got
Oh,
one
this
eaten
one's
down
okay.
and drinking a
And
top
if you're
wine, I'm
last
gonna be
place, you
done.
win.
I haven't eaten very much today, so there's nothing to absorb into my system.
What?
Oh,
Oh,
God.
so close.
I'm totally misinterpreted
Hey!
Mansion, yeah, good one.
It's not a full
Slightly off
that.
center.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Yes.
Yeah, I did 3.
Proud of you, Shane. Proud of you.
I was so close to
Nice
missing
work.
that.
It's 3.5
Sounded like a good time.
3.5.
I got 3 inches and I got a hole in 1.
3.5 yeets, fully on point. What the fuck? What's the deal with the ball?
I feel really bad that you've just missed out on
No!
a joke between you and Becky.
Go between this and you'll find the hole.
How the fuck? They got off this monstrosity.
No.
Answer that.
Didn't have to buy them?
It's not quite
Guys,
that
that's the
far.
first time I ever got a hole in 1 on this hole.
I'm proud of you because I can't do that one.
No.
It's
Oh, you
hard.
can't-
It's a
Oh,
very
come on, you
specific
can't
jump
stay
you
there.
have to do right after you hit it.
Mm-hmm.
Shut the door, please.
Oh.
No, Shane got
Yeah,
it.
that'll do.
Come
Yeah,
on.
John's gonna get loud. Crazy.
I'll get on something.
Who needs the fucking air balloon? I got myself a snorter. I get it.
Oh, forget this. I'm
Can
going
I
this way.
get frisky with Becky too?
My GoPro's on top.
Fucking right you can.
What?
What? How do you? Oh, I'm going the wrong way.
So do a
What do I
quick
have to
one.
do?
That'll end
I'm gonna
Arctic
message
Monkeys
Becky.
thing for it.
It comes with
I don't know if
Huh?
Bex even heard what I said.
Still
Yeah.
sick.
I'm not sure I heard what you
What?
said.
Lady.
I heard my
He wants
name.
to get
Just say my
crazy
name then.
with Becky.
Look,
Oh.
lady, I'm pretty supportive, right? I love.
Becky's a pretty lady. Not gonna lie.
I've never seen Becky.
I've done that.
Don't go off is dangerous. You might lose an eye.
They won't let me move forward.
We're gonna lose more than an eye tonight, Shane. Some of us are losing our virginity, just saying.
I want to know how it starts. I wanna know how it ends, you know what I mean? Like, I want a fucking documentary on this shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
no.
you do you. That's cool, but I'm looking out for your safety, so I wanna know how safe you are to make sure
We're
that
not.
that's cool.
safe when you find
I'm just gonna wanna, you know.
I mean, you can lose a lot
I'm not giving up.
of that in golf.
I'm not giving up.
Too, don't get me wrong, very much so. The eye is always the first thing to go. Everything else comes after. Oh my god.
Yeah, like fucking, you like.
This is true.
Yes, stream.
Yeah. Michigan's my.
Do you want to play, Shade?
It's your hoe, right?
No.
You can't play, can you?
Michigan's my calm down.
I wish this was cross-platform.
He's the one that fucking tells me that I'm being.
I would love it to be cross-platform. Then I can just
Mhm.
do it.
Matthew, what are you eating? Popcorn? I have carrots and hummus.
Fucking here. There's about 3 girls in here that are definitely not fucking eating that.
Nope.
Nope, I'm eating ass.
No!
Oh.
Crisis perfect timing with that scream there.
Open up. I'm coming in.
Oh, come on. Let me in. Let me in.
What?
I had like almost a perfect thing. I went over the hole and like bounced, and I'm like, oh, that's
It's fucking
come
tough.
on, just a tip.
It's fucking tough.
Hey, have
Just
you
the
ever seen
tip.
the Josh Turner, the guy that sings that song? He made a
The pole
a new,
hit me.
It's not new anymore, but he made the singer of that song. He made a music video like 20
I just
years,
got
like
home from
15
taking
years
mom's
after the original. And
mom out on
him
her
and his
birthday. Oh,
wife
that is
look
super
like
sweet of
exactly
you,
the-
Shade.
They look very similar.
That is super sweet. Happy birthday, Shade's mom.
Never.
That's not what was said a couple of minutes ago.
I'll get in the hole. Fuck it.
I'm sitting there with a fucking.
Yeah, fuck the hole.
Boys, we're ready, yeah? Like, let's go. Let's get fucking GoPros.
No.
Let's get GoPros.
No.
We're ready. It's good.
That was almost
No.
amazing.
If I told Momo how rain was tonight, she wouldn't believe me.
I don't think even
Momo missed it all.
fucking recognize what she's like
Definitely.
today.
No, probably not.
I don't think Lady
Oh,
Rain is kind of like.
Okay, forget this.
No. But do you know what? I really like that.
Oh, who whooped me? It felt good. Sorry.
I like the fact that Lady Rain is kind of mildly obscured because she's not normally, in my opinion.
No, I'm usually really modest.
Yeah, like I've never seen you be nice.
Oh.
Me
Well,
nice?
then.
Oh, this ain't nice.
Rain is actually really
You
nice.
have a misunderstanding of nice.
True, but when you have someone like myself who's loud and obnoxious, Lady Rain is kind of like one of these people who's like, yeah, cool story, bro.
Shut the fuck
Fuck
up.
up and let other people talk. You know? And as much as I love it,
Me though.
today, I don't think she's really kind of said that. She's just been like, yeah, some cunt's getting the fanny eaten out. And that's pretty much been it. Like, someone's like, correct me if
Yes.
I'm wrong, but that is pretty much some of the conversation I've heard.
One
Yeah.
day I do dream.
I don't know what you've just fucking said.
Dream.
Calm down.
It's fine.
Hey, dream. Guess what? Bam.
No.
Did I help you? I think I might have. No, did I? One thing I do when every time I hit somebody, they just get in a hole.
I'm now staying quiet because I feel so fearful.
I'll get dreamful. Okay, let's go.
Again?
Oh, what did you think, Shade?
8 strokes deep, mate.
I heard it's way better than people expected.
I think. No, wait, no, Jaffron's 12 strokes.
I give up.
I heard it was actually pretty awesome.
I was 8 strokes in. We're good.
I had 8 too.
I heard don't listen to the ratings because it's actually really good.
We're all 8 strokes in. It's cool.
Well, ratings are a joke anyway.
Better than expected, yeah.
I see
Oh,
That's what I heard.
Stupid.
Who's that?
Well, hold on. When it comes to
who went
ratings,
first?
You can't go that way, apparently.
Michigan went first
Did I?
didn't go
I
full
don't think
yeet.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
I don't remember.
So guys,
that was me.
Oh, you big who are you? Hey, Kimono.
Ooh,
I just want to be in the hole.
No.
So
I see you saying there. You tell me where you're going, and I'll fucking know.
Oh, I never gone that way before. Whoa, that
fucking-
was
yeah, but
not cool.
That way before.
Yeah, that's the reason why you're back
Nope,
where
I'm not
you're
gonna do
at.
that again.
That's the reason why you're back where you're at. Come on, you tell me your spot. You tell me where you're going.
I heard it so good.
Where do
Going
you
up the
guys go?
hill.
Oh, you're going up the hill, are you?
Everybody's goal
Yeah.
is to get in the hole.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Or is that like a...
Oh yeah, it was like almost a full yeet up that ramp. Mm-hmm.
I know you're lying to me.
Oh yeah.
To be fair, though, Jeff Ron is winning.
Movie
though.
ratings is a joke, 100%. Yeah. Right?
I've got the fucking...
I don't care what terminology used in the movie. If I enjoyed the movie, I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
really good?
Reviews are a joke because it's all about you.
I forgot
You
it
know,
came
art
out
is-
today. Oh, I gotta
What?
drag Dalton. Transformers.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, I forgot
Yes.
it came out today.
If it comes down
Yeah.
to art,
I love Transformers.
It's way better
Bunch of
than
art.
the previous movies.
Such
It's
a
based
shame
off,
that they
like, not the last Bumblebee, but, like,
It's
the
based off of
1940s
Beast
or
Wars,
something.
actually.
Or 94. 1990. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, it's based off of Beast Wars.
No.
Mm.
Shit.
Insulting or of any kind derogatory.
Bullshit.
But I don't in fact. But I don't know.
Sorry, yeah, crazy.
Like,
Oh.
Ladies
about the
crazy.
It cheated.
What he's on about by the Transformers thing is Transformers. I know they were bringing out a
Rise,
new movie.
Rise of the
Is
Beast
the
came
new
out
movie?
today.
Is the new movie out?
Yes, new movie is out. Oh, they gave us cheating!
I forgot that it was coming out
If you
today.
touch the wall.
The only thing that I can tell
Yeah,
you
it takes
about
place in 94.
Transformers movies is Bumblebee is the best.
Yes.
That was
It's
all
cheating.
Bumblebee film is so.
Okay, so it's 1994. That's what I heard. 1994. Do something like
When
that.
it comes to movies, it's
amazing.
all opinion.
I love the
opinions.
Bumblebee movie. Bumblebee is my favorite Autobot.
Yeah, it's such a good film.
Can I let you know?
That's what I heard, Shade. Thank you.
It's going to come from a guy. I get that and I understand that. But see Megan Fox playing the girl.
Bumblebee rules.
In the very first. No, yeah, I know she's hot as hell. But see what it took for her to get that position. She literally fucking degraded herself.
Yeah, I know.
That is fucking nuts.
You want to know why they got rid of her in the third movie? It's because she was pregnant.
Yeah, oh, was it?
Yeah, she was pregnant with her first kid.
That's
when they were filming the third
mental.
movie.
Yeah.
That's why Michaela doesn't exist in the third
Sorry, Jeff Ron.
She was also in
Jeff Ron.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
Jeff Ron, touch your balls.
And I think she was pregnant with her
Got
second
to
child.
ask though, who does he always get wrecked the most? Just asking. What is? I don't know. They pick on the small guy or something.
Never really been into MILFs, but I tell you what,
she's not a MILF.
Megan,
well, she wasn't a MILF when I was into her, but now she is. Yeah.
No, I'm always into her.
Yeah, I mean, I was into her before she was a MILF.
I thought we
but
were
now she's a
done.
MILF. I'm kind of like, she's fucking still hot.
Jeff Ron just took it.
Jeff Ron, it's okay. You're winning. You have 120 strokes. That's a lot.
I'm gonna shut the fuck up just to appease your ears.
Thank you, whoever hit me.
You're
I
welcome.
think that was me.
Sorry, Tifa.
No, it was not.
Oh, this is a bad spot.
No.
I'm rolling a cigarette.
No.
No, you're not.
Oh, Mona, I'm with you.
I know, right? This is such a bad spot. Ah, and then I hit the wall.
Oh.
I can't see through the.
There we go.
I whiffed that one hard.
No.
I'm just
I like
glad
her
I
brain.
found it.
Really? No. Hello? No, madam, sir, thank you. No, please, for the love of all things that are holy, no. No.
I got a budgie.
I fucked. Why did I shoot that?
None of us are holy today.
No, you're talking.
Not number 1.
I do drink a lot, but I feel like
Phoebus?
No, don't do it. Don't.
We'll catch Phoebus.
I got double
Eat.
slaughter.
That's not what I
Oh,
want. Thank you.
wow. I'm so lucky I didn't fly out of the ring on that.
Wee.
No!
I'll happily take a double bogey.
It escaped. No one caught it. Rigged.
Yeah, I didn't want it.
Optus and Megatron are my top 2 favorites.
Yeah, Phoebus.
I have Pokemon Community game on mine too, so.
Oh, Kimono.
Artist is coasting her way in. Oh, Cookie Phoebus.
Well, she's an artist, you know. She has
Right?
to be perfect.
Phoebus got away though. How can you cook Phoebus if Phoebus gets away?
I have a small request.
What?
Where the fuck's my Mewtwo?
Oh, wasn't this one like really like stupid hard?
Was it straight the first time or is it left the first time?
I don't know.
I love how avoided my question was. But it's cool.
It's
right.
It's left.
I don't care.
No, it's right.
Left? Kid, I'm following you.
It's right and right.
How the fuck?
It's left and
Well, to me it was right, so I don't
middle
know.
Middle pin.
I'm in the hole, so I guess it was right for me.
Oh, it's left and not left.
I think it's different for everybody else because mine was right.
Why are you guys lying?
I think it's different.
It might be different for different people. I don't know. I went left and I was safe, but the second one is not left.
I went right, and I went right and hole.
Middle. Left. Middle.
No, it's different for everybody.
Left, middle, right, right?
I never went to the middle, so I'm just saying it's different.
It's different for every player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just find a hole and go in, and if it's not right, then
All the Pokemons. Those are so cute.
It's just a trial and error.
All the cute Pokemons. They're adorables.
Can I ask you who's through on this hole? Who's done with this hole?
I've been done.
Okay.
I'm done.
I've been done.
The classic
Jeffron.
Look where I'm at.
Wait, what the fuck?
I don't know.
Huh?
I'm on this.
What?
I'm on this
know.
ledge, so it counts as being in. Anything that I do, I'm out.
You can reset, right, or no?
I can't. Reset.
How about?
I'll give you a reset. You ready?
How about you dream about it?
And then all the bunnies. You tease me with the bunnies. Those are so cute.
Luality's bunnies are so adorable. I love her.
Damn.
Jeffron, I'm going to
fucking
make sure I lose.
I need them.
Love a bunny shoot.
Oh, that was fun. Oh, that's not fun.
Oh.
What?
Oh, whoops. Hi, guys.
Game on.
It's not a full yeet.
Oh, it's a full yeet.
No, it's not a full yeet.
You have to.
No.
You gotta jump.
It's a full
I can't
yeet.
jump.
I'm on the wrong side. I don't like this side of the rim.
Why didn't you jump? I hit spacebar.
I ran out of
Oh!
Get the fuck
Yeah.
out. We go. Okay. So now I'm here. Perfect.
Oh.
Here, microwave.
Perfect.
Stop.
No. No.
Shit.
Go up and over. Get yourself all that.
Shit.
Get myself.
I've never seen this view of the map before.
Perfect. Straight in the hole.
Okay, good.
Straight in the hole.
Just got yeeted the fuck out of there.
Hey, come on, no. Yeah.
No.
Oh, here.
Oh, this part.
That's the bit that severs. That's the bit that puts
What a creep.
shivers down your spine.
What a creep.
They're so cute. I heard a beep. I hear beeps too. I hear microwave beeps or something.
It was not me.
I hear a microwave.
I'm gonna say.
Sorry, Shane.
I was making popcorn and not sharing.
Hi, Tex. Are you leaving us?
No,
It's
it's his
no,
microwave.
the bleep is.
Oh,
my
you're the one with the
dishwasher.
bleeps.
Yeah, he was
Dishwasher.
getting popcorn to watch this entertainment.
Oh, dishwasher.
Oh, yeah, it's my dishwasher. It's bleeping saying empty me now.
Look at all those beautiful emotes on Kimono
I have
stream.
no comment.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally nothing I can do. I'm glitched.
I like your
No, it
bouncing
looks like
up
you're
and down,
having a
Jeff.
good
That's
old time
great.
on that pole, man.
You gotta dance on poles
Bounce
to make
it
the
to
money,
wow,
man.
We're dancing with Jeff Ron.
Jeff Rod, damn, you ride that pole like nobody else.
I'm gonna just keep randomly playing my audio. Do it. It so fits you. You need to spam the emotes with it too.
What's your audio? What's the audio you got for it?
This is.
All those goats.
Whoa! You see your ball at
Who
the end
did
just went
that,
super quick and then left.
I love it.
I wonder if I can make that automatic for you. Let me look. I'm gonna try something.
Full yeet it, man.
Full
The
yeet.
only way
My
to
brain
do it.
knows.
Yep, it's a full yeet.
It's only gonna work for you because you own the emote.
Holy shit.
I want every hole to be like this.
Lady.
Oh, no!
Lady.
No!
Hi.
Lady, look at me.
No.
Somebody hit
Full
me.
yeet.
Artist can hit me, please. Not the right way, but.
Oh, it's not gonna work that way because it's the bot. Never mind.
Did that hole, man.
My bot would have to just subscribe to that emote. Dang it.
Long and hard.
I
My
love this
brain- my
hole,
brain
it's
is
just like
silly.
fireworks.
Why do I have old lady hips?
I did, however, overshoot my.
Full
I have no
blast!
idea.
Same artist.
Oh, let's go! Fireworks!
I know this is awesome. I wish every single time I go to the hole, there's fireworks and everything.
You have the lens of your tail.
I think there's a way to get a hole in one. I think it's like slightly less than full or something.
Yeah,
Oh, there's-
If you had
there's-
emotes made, yeah.
Slightly less than full yeet, but lady full.
Hey guys,
because she
guys,
fucked up, so I had
look
to
at my score.
What?
Look at my score.
69, you won! You beat Tifa because your score was 69, even though she technically won. On my stream, 69 is the winner, no matter what where you're at.
Yeah, I created this.
Okay, hashtag ban KimonoKat now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Ban us all.
I created
See your
this.
score. Show me your score.
66.
I had 100 and like 130 or something.
I don't know what my score was.
I had a lot of scores.
I'm just here for fun, okay?
All I know.
No, I'm here for your support.
All I know is this is behind lady.
No, we're here for ladies' intervention.
Fuck up, lady. You know.
Gosh. Anybody else joining this round?
Lady,
I'm so
we
grateful
care
I
for you.
have some supportive friends.
Yeah, lady, we care for
have
you.
a lot of supportive friends.
Clearly.
Mona has the same issues as me, fighting the hole and hitting the right next to it. Oh gosh. Screw your audio.
I never miss the hole, though. I
Well,
always
not
get bonus
tonight.
I
hole.
missed the hole because somebody hit me.
Mm-hmm. Bio, you wanna play? Wanna play some golf? See if you can get it in the hole or not.
Art, how accurate are you with the hole? Pretty accurate.
Well, there's 18 holes, so I don't know.
Where it's at.
Extremely
I even know where the beam is at.
It's confusing when you don't know where the hole is.
I agree. But see if
Well,
you
like I said,
build
in
up
golf, there's 18 holes, so.
Oh, jeez.
see if you build up the trajectory and the momentum. It's all.
I'm gonna get drunk and not find the hole. Hold on.
Oh yeah. I've never been a skate artist, so I'm definitely gonna get caught by the popo, for sure.
I hate this map.
I've never
Well-
been caught.
Do you know what? Here, if there's police in it, I hate it too. So, you're not the only one.
I like how the first hole. I like.
Thinking, I'm
Aw,
thinking
so
like maybe
close.
1.5 each. I'm thinking 1.5 each.
Hold on. I like how the first hole is always the easiest.
You fucking
Except
scoundrel.
I did a rim job.
It helps. I would say that, except for on that corruption one. That first hole is a killer.
That one's different.
I've just been.
I think the second hole's easier on that one.
Just been raped of a hole. Just been like I literally had it, like okay, we'll be more diplomatic.
No, it's the R word.
No.
I have just been I can't even think of the word.
You just
I've just been
Dang it.
Anyways, I'm in the hole, so I'm good.
I'm just going the wrong way. Hi, Tifa.
Well, that's your problem.
We already know you're directionally challenged. It's okay.
Yeah, she don't know what hole it is.
Is it Tifa or Tifa? It's Tifa, isn't it?
It doesn't really matter.
Okay. My words are always wrong, so.
But I've had
yeah, words are hard.
Words are hard.
Very.
Yes, they are.
I think I've never, like, when it comes to
just
lady,
like this dick.
I've never really met
I was waiting for Rain. I was just waiting. I was looking right at her. Waiting for her to say something.
I've never met
words.
So
hey,
thank you, Matthew.
Where it hurts the most.
Dream.
Yes. Gotcha. I've never met someone.
Really, it's Aphid?
Like,
Oh my gosh.
Hey, Dream.
I'm gonna fucking get there. Let me give it one out.
Hey, Dream, look at me.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never met someone so
sincere.
All dreams.
Fuck up. You don't annoy me.
Good.
I'm just going good, Midget Monstrosity. Thank you for whoever gave me the boop.
That's me.
Wasn't me.
You're not welcome.
Oh.
I found it. I've never
Wasn't
met
me.
someone who I know with so much
Birdie.
The indifference being that I love the
It's going
person,
great,
but I
Midget
fucking hate them.
Monstrosity. I've been
It's
hitting
right
Mona's
there.
hole all
Well-
night.
I'm in a great place. This is perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
at least you can sit down over there.
I'm fucking careful.
Wow.
I've never met someone who I love so much with indifference. I fucking love the
Yes,
person.
we all
but I fucking
love
hate
you,
them.
and we all hate you at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. That's lady.
That's called
indifference.
Neutrality.
Yeah, indifference.
Frenemies?
It's called
I'm your wee bastard.
Called what?
Golf with your enemies.
Shut
Yeah,
up.
for sure, but you don't tell her that. Fuck's sake, mate.
Pretty Little Liars.
Like I appreciate
High school.
your soul.
I still need sticker options, and no one can blame me for them missing tonight. Oh, why is that?
Yeah, this is
Whoever went to the right to the wrong hole, I'm sorry.
I'm a fat guy, right?
I cannot find the hole.
Go straight in the kitchen.
There it is.
Artist,
Did he
it
jump
kinda
over
freaks
me
me
or
out
did I
that your
accidentally?
hat has eyes.
We do a whoop whoop.
It's got candlesticks.
No, but it's
I
got
love
eyes
golf
on the top
today
of
because
it.
everybody's
does.
just being weird.
It does? Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
And kind of creepy.
You don't.
I'm
like
not there
me,
to target them. You're true.
No, like,
I'm sorry for coughing on you guys. You guys have the space cooties now.
Ooh.
Whose hole are you gonna be targeting, Midget?
Oh.
'Cause I'm targeting Mono's.
I'm targeting John's.
Oh, bromance. Mm.
It sounds
Yeah.
like
There's
he's all
someone that's
doubling up,
machine.
and I'm like, okay.
All the
Too much for a
bromance.
tenner.
No, we already targeted each other a long time ago.
Get
It's fine.
over the wall, Mono.
No.
That works.
Or
Oh.
you can watch for a tenner.
There you go.
I'll be honest.
You still fucking
son of a-
retarded.
I always have a rim job every time.
Fucking harsh.
Dang it, Michigan.
That's a harsh thing to say.
Hey!
I about pop Shane out too.
I'm a horse. Hey!
Ooh. Come on, Jeff Rod, you can do it. Jump that wall. You got it. Look at you. Oh, you got denied by the poll. I hate when that happens.
It looks like it went in on my
Yeah.
screen.
It did, yeah.
The poll was evil.
Well,
You're evil, Komodo.
Guess he didn't ask enough consent.
Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. I'm giving.
Damn it. Ooh, I can almost never make that shot.
What? Me neither.
We drink before we go.
I don't drink, so yeah.
Shit.
No. Can't make it over the wall.
Too late. I already drank all my drink.
No.
I just grabbed a second one.
Did you?
Well, it's just, I mean, I had the one little one, and then I've been working on the tall
that
boy.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna get crazy here. So, like, who has car? Who
I'm most
got
of the way
her?
done with the tall boy.
Who got her car keys?
All right.
Because
I'm at home. I'm not going anywhere.
I do not want to go into the oven. Thank you. I'm already hot enough.
Damn right you are.
Do you know what I love?
Well, to be fair, I'm overcooked, so.
I love the fact that women have such respect within themselves. They're like, you know what? I'm fucking hot enough. I'm me.
I don't need the oven.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I seen the clip.
But them girls aren't getting dick.
I watched the eyes on the hat move around and blink.
The girl that was on the podcast.
Oh, Jeffron,
My
go
eyes, I'm already
straight and
watching
up
you.
that
Oh,
ramp to the hill
watching
above you.
Mike Wazowski.
Do we know about the same?
Oh, watching.
You gotta go up that ramp and get on that hill.
Hell yeah, brother.
Oh, so close. You went a little bit to the left there.
Nope.
You gotta go a little bit to
Like, you
the.
snack
I mean, you went a little bit to the right. You gotta go to a little bit to the left.
A general consensus.
That's a different game, Mona. We're not playing that game.
I know my brain went there too.
Do we all know about the girl that tried to proclaim that she's a 10 when she's not? And she's
No.
pretty much like fucking
Excuse
Jabba
me?
the Hutt.
No, I'm
You all know
definitely
that,
like a 200.
okay.
That's
So,
right.
Not really.
This girl
I
was
weigh
on
200.
a
Went to school with about 10 of them that did that.
This girl was on a chat show, or sorry, podcast, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And the guy was like, he's basically just kind of thrown out ideas.
Dude, you just messed me up because you were talking. I was trying to fucking play. For crying out loud.
Then you know
Oh
what?
my gosh, you guys are so bad. No, I went over the hill.
You have a fucking voice. You can tell me to shut the fuck up.
No, that is the angriest
pushing
I've
the
ever
wrong
seen
button.
Jaffron.
Yeah.
Sounds like a you problem, not me problem.
Yeah, that's
know,
your
I'm just
problem.
giving you
I
shit
love it
'cause I love
though.
you, that's all.
Love you
Jaffron,
too.
I'm on your
I've
side.
never heard him
We're
say
talking
things
about I'm
out
on your
of.
side.
Don't do it, lady. Oh,
Mixes on Jack.
Lady Rain is rubbing off on Jeffron. It's official.
Look, I gotta convert the Canadian,
Don't
man.
have through that can fucking
It's
go.
fine.
I don't even play.
Oh no.
Sorry, I'm late.
Welcome, Take.
So much.
I know it works. It's cool.
Admittedly, I
I've been hitting
didn't.
on Mono and Artist all night. It's great.
A warning, Lady Rain is over the top tonight. She is being the wild child.
Yeah.
She is not the police tonight. She is the wild child. She is after everyone's holes. Just say.
stay away from my hole.
That's a lot of holes.
No, I want your holes.
You have to work for it.
Oh.
Good to see everybody.
Gladly. Go.
Did you say gladly?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Artist is gorgeous. Can you blame her?
Like I said, I'm like my boyfriend. We both like goth girls, okay? Can't help it.
You rock out with a cock out, mate.
I don't have a
Well, you know what I mean? Like,
So true.
You do you.
I want to like her.
Analogy. I don't
You got it.
I have no idea what to go
Did you literally just say that? Or
Yeah,
did
rock
I
out with a
imagine
cock
that?
out. I always say that. Oh, you mean like what Art said? I'm gonna shut the fuck up for just like.
Rain said she doesn't have one, and I said that's why I like her.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't release.
Oh, that was close.
Oh.
Hey, that's the
Oh
wrong
my.
direction. I think you're going for the wrong hole.
Again?
I want to. This is my cozy place.
I'm staying so quiet.
Somebody help
I know,
me
all
out.
the fire. It's great.
Looks like Snappy's been having a few drinks.
No, she don't drink.
What am I looking at then?
That's Mountain Dew.
It is
Just
Mountain Dew.
Dew.
It is Mountain
You have
Dew.
to jump over that? Frickin' heck. Heckin' frick.
Ew. It is Mountain Dew. It's hard Mountain Dew though.
No, it's diet.
What am I looking at in Cat
It's
Cafe?
alcoholic Mountain Dew.
Oh, I know. You're
I
looking
was
at
gonna
a
say.
cafe. It was like, this is what I'm drinking.
I was gonna say that's also alcohol.
I went into the
never
fire.
heard of
Am I gonna
alcohol.
die?
What is that?
Oh, don't die.
It's just the alcohol
I know we all
police.
want to burn in hell, but please don't die.
No, I do not want to burn. I don't taste good. I don't taste like
Oh,
chicken.
I thought you were
I'm sure you taste quite great with a little bit of lemon pepper.
No, now she's gone cannibal. Full
I got
on
no-
cannibal. Help.
Oh, no.
This is taking a turn for the worst.
I got no issue with
I
alcohol.
don't think she's talking about actually eating me. I think she's talking about eating me.
I know, but jeez, I feel like it's maybe a little bit more than that now with the roasting and the lemon
I
pepper.
don't know. I don't know.
No long pork, please.
To each their own.
Dang it. Never get that jump
You
either.
guys talking about
Lemon the
eating
fucker?
like,
Okay.
like food and stuff? Weird.
No.
Oh,
No.
Oh, no. We don't eat
Artist!
food around here.
Right. I didn't do nothing. I wasn't here.
Come on.
She bumped me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start loving people.
Loving
Oh,
people.
I'm gonna
Oh,
laugh.
dear.
I'm gonna let it laugh. I'm gonna
All
let it
love.
laugh.
I do not
I'm a
want to
sneaky
be.
snake.
You know, I find
Yo.
it kind of funny that this
Snake.
session
I'm
is just so
sneaky
crazy that even Dream is
snake.
having trouble getting a word in.
Really?
Unfortunately, I'm sober.
Let's go straight in my basket.
Like I said, I don't
Oh,
drink.
no.
Let's go straight in my basket.
You might have to be drunk to deal with me.
I know.
Debatable.
I know. This is what I'm
Debatable.
saying. We had to put her
my
in like a
goodness.
headlock and be like, "Go home."
I am home.
That's the worst
Go
part.
to your bed.
Because we're happy with you, and you're happy with us.
He,
Lady's so home, she doesn't know she's home. She's just like,
Oh, half the time I want to go home and I'm already home.
it's good to
No,
loosen
no,
up
no,
a
you
bit
have
once
to
in a
do
while.
that.
but-
I will literally come home from work and like say I want to go home when I'm already home.
No, you have a green screen. Come on.
Reminds
Shane
me
is
of
in the
the
lead.
Drinking at that point.
I just want to find the hole.
Because I've literally been saying I want to go home all day. That's literally why it happens.
Well, you're home now.
I can't
I'm
see.
in the pile.
And I'm so grateful.
I know.
'cause
I'm trying to
really
get out
didn't
of the
want to deal with
pile.
I
interviews
don't.
today.
What the fuck?
Dreams, move the fuck out of my way.
hey, you do you.
No, don't go down the thing.
No.
You do you. Oh, you.
Son of a.
Hi, artist.
You didn't get the fuck out of my way, so I'm gonna hit
I'm
your
in your
fucking
way,
balls.
That's fine. I get
Damn
it.
it.
You
Go
fucker.
balls.
Hey, listen. No, I got
No.
another one to contend with.
No.
I've only
I
had
went
one
off road. A little too
one
far.
shot.
Stop.
Oh.
Anyway,
I've only hit one
I don't know
shot.
what happened.
I won't be staying
Yeah?
long. I've got
You've
other
only
things
had
I'm
one
doing.
shot?
Okay. Good night, Tank.
I had one opportunity.
See ya.
Night, Tank.
Have a good night, guys.
Oh, fine.
I won't be here
Thanks.
I've only hit
You,
one shot.
till next Friday.
Take care.
Okay. Take care.
Fuck up my way.
We'll do.
Wait, I'm going for it. Oh.
Oh, you're such a dick.
No, Lady Rain got in my way.
Such a
Please.
dick.
No, the be.
Right
She cock blocked me from the hole.
What? I did not.
I was trying to cock
nothing.
block Dreams, and I think
Oh,
it did.
seriously.
I
Back to the
was
fucking
so
beginning.
successful on that one.
Where's the fucking hole?
Not you,
You
Monty.
know what?
Hey, Brick.
Fuck it. When you
I
find
wish
it,
I could
let me
help
know.
you, bro.
I don't know where I am. I'm lost.
When you're multitasking and doing your Genshin daily check-ins,
Hell yeah.
gotta do the things and the stuff.
Don't you fucking knock me.
Jim?
Where do I go from here?
Go.
You knock me.
Just go in to a
Tifa,
little
why
bit
are you
of the
still
left.
jumping?
Cause why not?
Why not? I'm bored.
Stop
Now,
teasing
Fran,
me
you
so
go
you
down
already.
the hill. You just gotta get around the poppers.
Oh, I'll tease you.
I should have known he was gonna make a comment.
First time, nailed it.
Oh, I can't get rid of this dirty laugh I've got.
Where am I going? Oh, I'm going this way.
Fuck, I fucked that up.
No shit, Sherlock. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Nice one.
Oh, how did I mess this up? This should have been a hole-in-one, and I messed it up. Oh my gosh.
Monty, come here.
Really? Oh, jeez. Oh no, just give up already. I'm making this like...
What the fuck did you do?
I'm messing it all up so that I don't get first. That's it.
Sure.
I
don't want first place.
No one wants first place. Why would you want first place?
Yeah, that means you have the
No one wants to be the first loser.
No, that's second place. But yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's second place.
That's right.
I'm glad. I'm so glad.
Trust me, I've been
Okay, we got this in the bag. We got this in the bag. I get it. I know what I'm doing.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Straight over. Straight in. Indian hop.
Oh, I missed the jump.
And then we
Get an eagle.
half a yeet.
Damn it.
Eagle.
No, it's called half a banana.
I got one of the big flying things.
The albatross?
As long as a winged creature appears on my screen,
the
I'm
freedom
good.
bird. Got
it. Wow, gun.
A fucking kite. That's what it is.
I'm having too much fun with the floaty.
Can't do that. I carry her bags.
I can't focus, but this is too cute.
Oh, let's see if we can help Jeff Rod. Oh, if he would have stayed, I would have hit him in the hole.
Wow.
Ha! Oh, I'm here. Never forget.
Superman is here.
I took a different approach than all you guys.
Think underdog.
Catch 5 fire type and get a rainbow 9-tails. That's cool. That's how you get the rainbow 9-tails! Oh. I was wondering how you caught it.
No.
I got this float from Sonic. It's oh, they don't have that one here. I tried so hard to get that one, Shane. I made my own. I made my own version of it yesterday. I bought a vanilla milkshake and a strawberry slushie and mixed it myself because I refused to have that one here at my Sonic for some dumb reason. I guess they don't have the cookie crumble stuff or something. The shortcake part.
Give me 2 seconds. I need to try and find something for Kimono.
Are you trying to find the bean? Because I already found it.
Motherfucker, I've already found it.
I don't know what you got. I'm 13.
If you're 13, you should not be in this chat right now.
What? I was trying to learn from the adults.
No, his mentality age is 13.
No, that's actually 12.
Yeah, I will literally.
12 and 2 quarters. Got it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I
Not 2.
Okay. So I need to not being full throat on this. I need to ask you a question.
No.
See the Charizard.
So do you automatically get the 9-tails or do you get a chance to catch the 9-tails, Matthew?
It's like Charizard, but it's just got like a bone skull, and it comes with a bone. What Pokemon is that?
Marowak?
Duskull.
Cubone.
Oh, Cubone.
Oh man, I'm in the worst place for
Cubone's
this.
adorable.
I heard a horrible story about Cubone and now I believe it.
Oh shit.
We're
That's
getting
probably
there.
true.
I'm gonna try to.
That Cubone is actually a Charizard whose mother's died and his tail was never lit.
Exactly. I'm so glad you get this.
Yes.
It's so sad, but it's so sad. But
You get it once you get all 5. Thanks, Matthew.
I messed up this course bad.
It's so believable, though.
It's a genuine fucking truth.
It's so believable.
That's not cool.
I got a baby bird.
Because that's the only reason why he's able to adopt a fire emblem. Like he's.
Yep, that's why he can use fire moves. Because he's really a baby Charmander whose tail is never lit.
Correct.
And that's why Cubone's skull has the 2 pointy things. The skull he wears has the 2 pointy things. Is because that's the Charizard's pointy ear horn pieces. Yeah, it's his mama's skull. Well, we all know it's always been his mom's skull, but
that's fucking crazy.
Weird though, innit? Bit weird though, innit?
It's crazy.
he's a Charmin because his tail was never lit. He never got to evolve into that stage of his life. He never got to turn off fiery and orange.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to find the fucking
Oh, James! We're waiting on you, man! You got 24 seconds to get it in the hole. Can you do it?
Jesus Christ. Need asking twice. Hey.
I don't think he's gonna make it. He's got 9 seconds now.
He's a 30-second guy, so it's like.
Come on, you can do it. You got 4 seconds. 4 seconds. 2, 1.
No.
Oh, you got denied. You got robbed. You got blocked. You got blocked.
Just let you know, if it was 6 seconds, we would have been fucking done.
Yes, that's what she said.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's not always a good thing.
I'm by no means trying to say that as like showing off. I'm just stating.
Showing off.
It's not showing off.
Well, I'm 5 seconds.
Seconds. Woo! Yo, boys, I'll get drinks in. Just don't tell everyone I do 6 seconds. In fact, fuck it. Tell them I'm a 6-second man.
I'm a 5-second man. So.
Cooked it, packed it, fucked off.
Peter Kate.
Rain, are you stuck?
Yeah. I just got an
You
eagle.
look stuck.
I get an eagle too. 1 day and 22 hours left for Rainbow Ninetales. I'm gonna have to work really hard at that for the next 2 days to get that.
You need to give me 2 seconds.
Look, I've literally had nothing but like a bowl of cereal.
Miss Barbecue Tater Tots. Those were good. My favorite tater tots, though, Shade, were the broccoli and cheese ones, believe it or not. I love the broccoli and cheese tater tots in Sonic.
Oh, that's
No, you need food. Rain, listen to me. I am your drink mother. You need food. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. You need to trust me. You need to trust me. Trust me.
Food and water.
No,
Wait,
stop,
I'll gladly
stop,
suck
stop,
you.
stop, 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 stop.
Bread and crackers.
What?
What?
What did I hear?
I'm back where I started.
What the fuck?
I don't know what you heard.
Come again?
What?
Here, I'll let you know. Here in Scotland, it is 5 to 4. Not even 5 to 4, and the fucking sun's out.
Hey, same here in England.
What? Why did my
It's only 10 o'clock here.
So if someone's
I heard many things and I'm staying quiet. Yeah, there's all kinds of conversations being had tonight.
We have to make sure.
Anyways, I work out and just makes
my point of view
water.
changed.
What it looks like in England now. Fucking
Mommy, where am
shite.
I going?
How do I change my point of view back?
You don't.
Very carefully.
Don't go into politics.
No, I'm serious.
Dude, well,
I am serious.
Wait, that's your problem. Nobody else in this Discord is serious right now.
No, we're all serious.
what was that to me? Please
None of
don't
us
even
are serious
talk.
here.
Have you ever
Melt the pollen.
I'm grinding so much on Street Fighter 6, I feel like I'm just playing a grinding simulator. Oh, jeez, that does not sound like fun.
Smell summer.
How about you, Matthew? You playing that one too, I bet.
Like you smell summer. You can smell.
Look. Sure.
How do
The
you
fucking sunshine, you can smell
summer?
like how fresh
That's
that shit
weird.
is. Is it just
I hate the
Ew.
smell of pollen.
Same.
it's to,
No, I hate it. Got right bad hay fever.
I stay by the sea. And
Jeffron, you are so close to the hole. You can do it.
Oh yeah.
I believe in you.
Playing this game.
Yes. Now we're just waiting on poor Dreams, who hasn't even started.
Oh my freaking god. He just started and the freaking timer ended.
He's
Yep.
been going on and on over here.
Yeah.
He's just having a good time. It's okay.
We still love you.
I'm not even playing and I'm helping you guys.
What I mean is, it went from first person view to third person, and I'm trying to figure out how that changed.
Kicked him. Is it
I
kicked
have
him?
no idea how that would have changed.
Oh fuck.
Oops.
Hey.
Not even playing, but I'm still playing the part.
Even though I fucking failed.
You fucking fail all the time.
Yeah,
we're
but
going.
I'm gonna fucking.
No! Went back to
I'm
Neil.
gonna beat you all. I'm gonna
No,
beat
you're
you
not.
all. Fact.
You're gonna beat
You
me.
ain't gonna beat shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Cause you ain't.
Ah! I just keep starting over.
Alright, Kimono, you can't do it. Wait, what?
Shane's had enough of me.
He left.
A little bit.
No, he's there.
It rolls so much. How does it roll so much?
It's a ball. You should know.
I haven't
by
played Street
now.
Fighter. I want to get it. I know
I
you
don't have
would.
balls, though.
Sounds like your kind of game, Matthew.
I'm looking at my book collection here, trying to figure out what I want to skim
No,
over while I'm
sorry, you
waiting on
paused there
Dream
for
to
a
finish.
second.
I'm gonna fucking. I hate.
It's scary.
Anyway.
You want to come
It's
over
scary,
for
man.
spot. That's what you want to.
Very scary.
No.
No, thank you.
That's just a little nutty.
Sounds like a grinding simulator. That part makes it scary.
No.
What, the grinding bit or the simulator bit?
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
I would show you my bookcases, but I feel like if I try to move my laptop, things will.
I'm scared now.
What now?
Oh, not enough heat.
Less heat.
There we go.
I'm gonna eat my chocolate and be quiet now.
Oh, that's not the right way to go.
I messing this up.
No.
Yeah. Woo! Oh! Oh, that didn't work.
Son of a bitch. No.
Oh, I went to the wrong side. Oh, jeez. Oh, well.
Shane, switch language.
What?
What fucking language?
Stop fucking cursing.
A little bit more words. Thing.
I can.
No.
No, too much heat. No! Back to the
What'd you go there with that? What'd you go there with?
You know, hi, Shade. I don't know how it went through you, Shade. It literally went right through you.
I'm a ghost, apparently. No,
I don't know how it went right straight through you.
Jeffron!
Stop.
Oh, thank you, Drew. Thank you for hitting me. I ran out of shots.
You ran out of shots and you were like right at the hole. Oh, you got lucky.
Do you know the reason why I'm not winning? Is because I'm just consistent.
Because you're drunk.
Damn it.
Oh
well.
Not even that. I'm just trying to bring these people up to my level.
Shane's gonna run out of shots too.
When they bump into me,
I still won.
Wanna get Chainsaw Massacre?
I love
it.
69, yeah.
Matthew loves horror.
I'm gonna.
That's what he says.
Green cupcake.
Who won?
I got a red bow.
Who won?
No one.
You didn't pay attention. Cheers.
I got two
Cheers.
69s in
I'm
a
out of
row.
drink.
I'm gonna
Just got a
call that.
beer,
I'm gonna end it while I'm ahead.
I'll give you 49.
Cheers to 69.
Fuck yeah, you fucking sucks.
Cookies and drinks.
You know what? Besides the 69 thing, cheers to happy people being together and enjoying our lives as we live.
Thank you. Thank you,
Oh,
thank you.
I was just getting ready to say that. That is the most Canadian thing I've ever heard.
Oh my god.
Also, on top of that, you guys know today is 6/9, right? At least here in the U.S. still.
Oh, I
And
just
it's
realized
Itachi's
that.
birthday.
It's 6/9 today.
I'm celebrating 6/9/23.
I
Cheers.
almost said that, but I wasn't
Useless
sure if anyone was
anime
gonna get it.
Why
I
didn't
was
I
gonna
see
say that, but I didn't think anyone was gonna get it.
Nick Dobby jumps in and Night Rain jumps in right when I say that. Happy 6/9. Happy late birthday again, Nick Dothy. Happy birthday.
So right now we're
Lisa's birthday. Itachi's birthday. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
right now we're
You guys know it. You guys know it.
I would hope that I know it's Itachi's birthday.
Yeah.
I've trusted the guy forever.
In Scotland, it's 10. It's 10.
in Scotland we're
Just like
also
Loki.
still celebrating a holiday.
Thank you, much love. Shared the same birthday as Lisa. Yes.
That's like
Happy birthday.
We're celebrating November.
No, you don't.
So your birthday's actually today then?
We are.
Well, happy
Oh. Did you do a birthday stream today or yesterday?
What is that sound coming from?
Cool.
Gosh.
I think it's whoever's under their desk playing around right now.
Oh, sorry. That's
Don't want to know.
Not me. I'm not allowed to play under my desk anymore.
This sort of birthdays and no nuts and shit
Electronic
like
or what?
Sorry.
Where are all my 6/9 people at? Robert is a day before mine.
It's Michigan.
No, it wasn't
Crap,
me.
yeah,
It was not
sweet.
me. I was just saying I
Sweet,
was
sweet,
under
sweet.
like
Oh, it is.
It was not me.
All right.
Anyway, I wanted to say I love you guys, and yeah, you say it's all. Oh, that's the most Canadian thing. Whatever.
Can you stop being?
They just like picking on you. They like picking on you because they love you.
What I'm saying is that I love all of you, and thank you for being my friends, and I appreciate it. I enjoy your company. I appreciate your time with me, and I want you all to just be the best that you can be.
Thank you.
Dude, this is the line that got me in the bed.
Well,
And you
I'm
just
back,
had to ruin
and
the
I
nice
gotta say
moment.
I'm not drunk on
Yeah, I
wine,
did.
You
so I would
had to
definitely
ruin
be
the
crying
nice
by now.
moment.
I'll be honest
He's
with you.
my friend. He's my friend. I can do whatever.
Oh.
If I ever hear that as like a fucking like, I need someone to record that because if I ever fucking meet my girlfriend, I'll be like, oh, by the way, this and that,
Had a
blah, blah.
girlfriend.
Yeah, I did. Fucking failed.
Did you just listen
Anyways.
I definitely got one more match in me, but I think I'm gonna step to the ladies' room real quick.
Yeah.
And then I have one more match.
You know what? Me too, because the last female who went by themselves got attacked by a troll.
Yep.
Oh my god. Come on, ladies, let's hold hands. Let's go.
Are you someone that goes for guys or someone that goes for
I got attacked by a dream.
Oh,
She
more
went
important
down.
question is this female still in contact with that troll? Can we exploit the bastard?
Again, sorry. Say again. I didn't hear that.
Oh,
Anyways, I was attacked by
is this female still in contact with the troll?
Oh,
We could
she's
exploit.
still in contract.
Oh
sorry,
no,
in
I'm
contact.
asking a question. I'm not saying.
Oh no, as well as
Anyways,
don't matter.
alcohol does great things to people.
Oh,
Makes you
brilliant,
have
brilliant
confidence.
things.
It makes you have understanding. Makes you have awareness. Makes you have a doctor's degree.
There's definitely a sobriety test that should be given to all cunts when they enter a fucking pub and when they leave.
This is not the pub though. This is.
Over.
Well, if you go to my channel, it is the pub, but
I just need a fucking sobriety test. I'll be honest with you.
Well, all of us are being safe, to be fair. Tell me if
I am not fucking legal at this point. I am most definitely fucking uncaged.
Right? I've never been caged.
Wait, are we still being streamed?
Yeah, we are. That's why I'm
Okay.
keeping it kind of PG.
Alright, I'll tell you after.
Yeah. Like
That
I said,
sounds bad.
kinda keeping
That sounds
it
bad.
PG.
No, that sounds bad.
I know.
It's only something that.
Oh, that's why I kept it PG as best as I could.
It's not bad, but the story you'll laugh at.
When I was 10.
When I was 10. When I was 10. Went away with my father.
Fucking
My father.
housewives,
And met me go down fucking gold mine.
Michigan's out in town.
Swore.
No, maybe the wives. Maybe the wives, but not the kids.
Do you know what? It's the movies that always go for the kids. It's just like, oh, he's so cute, he's so sweet. Yeah.
I only go after the wives.
Silent assassin.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. I go after the wives, not
That's
the.
a lie, and you know it. I'm not a wife.
Off-piste, mate. You want to go off-piste.
I'm a loser, so it's all fine.
You want to go fucking down this.
Not yet, you're not.
Who? Him?
Seriously, I'm a winner.
I need to be quiet. I'm gonna be quiet.
Talking about artists.
Well,
Why would she talk to you?
I'll make her a wife.
Mate.
But at the same time, if you're going for someone who's already a wife, can't. There's no long run.
Oh, this is like.
No. She's talking to her wife.
We've got a place to go.
Oh,
I can do that too.
I guess I'm not the wife.
No long run.
Shit. Makes no sense.
She's packing a jet, mate. She's packing the jet. It's like, Alfred.
What?
Fuck.
Alfred. We've
Fuck.
got a place to go. We're going to ladies. Fucking pick up your bags. We're going on a holiday.
Oh my god.
Who's fucking?
She did just clean house for us.
Kimono. Art is. Sorry. Yeah, art.
I'm back.
I'm sorry about that. Albers.
Sorry, Kimono. Art's on the phone. Hey, Art.
I'm gonna head out.
Okay, artist. Good luck.
If you guys are still in chat, when I get back, I'll rejoin. But I'm gonna go get ice cream with a couple of girlfriends real fast.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Have fun. I'm jelly.
Have fun.
I'll be back if you guys are still when I get back.
Yeah. Just leave
Okay.
for everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, send me some ice cream, please. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna start. Splints, are you joining this round of golf? Splints.
Bye.
Dog.
Hi, Splints.
You don't have to wait for me though.
No, we're gonna wait for you if you're joining.
Okay, yeah, I'm just getting Steam set up here.
Great.
Crisis with the goats, reminding us to stay awake and alert at all times.
I know you guys do a cheers before, guys. I want to do a cheers because I finally got my.
Yes. Cheers.
I can't. Cheers. I'm
Cheers.
not allowed to drink anymore.
Hopefully get to my first
You can
goal of June.
Cheers.
Of my stack up, which is $500. It's really I'm really close to it right now.
Yeah, you're really close. That's awesome.
Yeah. My first.
That's no easy task. Trust me. I did 500 for St. Jude's, and that's no easy task. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jude.
My
Saint Jude.
My first goal
Kimono fucked
of
up in the words
June
what he said, and I was just trying to pick
is
up on it because.
James, shut the fuck up.
Tifa's trying to talk.
You're talking
Yes.
to me, you asshole.
It fucking happens a lot. Deal with it.
Okay. You know what?
Come in. Go on.
Cool story.
I'll cut him.
Oh, I muted him already. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so my first one for the $500 is I have to do 3 rounds with an oven mitt on my hand for DVD.
Oh, nice.
Puddles.
Yeah.
Puddles is playing with
And my oven mitt says my favorite people have paws on it.
Cute, 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 cute.
Yeah.
Look at this fucker. Playing with his bag.
You can do it. You can do it.
Oh.
Am I still
Look
here?
at him.
All right, who's in and who's going on this last game? I'm gonna hit start.
Yeah, this hit start, so we can get it over.
This the password changed on me. I think.
No, same password. Lowercase kimono.
It's
lowercase. That's
69
why.
40,
Yeah.
420.
I did capital K. My bad.
That's okay. It tricks everybody.
Sure. Hi, Kelly.
What's up, dude?
Nice to see you, bro.
Yeah, so
Dude, don't say
Kimono, I'm
his
doing this
real
charity for the whole
address.
month of June.
Why not?
That's awesome.
You can dox
I
me.
did
I live
it
on
for the whole
123
month of
Happy Lane.
February.
And
And
Mhm.
then I did it for the whole month of April.
Mhm.
And then I did a 12-hour stream with the stack up on there.
Do you know what's crazy?
Now I'm doing it for June,
like,
and I'm doing it every other month.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That'll get you some fucking points.
Are we ready to hit start?
Yeah, do it up, do it up. Don't just go over them. Yeah, you can.
Tax, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Prime subs are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I don't
My
know
number
Michelle,
11. Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, yeah, if anybody does come on my stream and then they don't see my stack up link to my donor drive,
Dash Ketchum Gaming shared. X5. Nico Nico Ni
how you
E5.
get it up.
Oh.
But I do have it on
The channel underneath? Or
no, it's a timer from
oh, okay, so it automatically comes up here and there.
Yeah.
Nico Nico
Somehow
Ni.
don't see it, you just press exclamation point charity. That makes the easiest thing to come up with.
Sweet.
I won't lie to you. I'm not gonna follow you for one specific reason.
You realize she muted you, right?
I don't care.
Oh,
I was gonna say, did you just fucking do it? Cause my follow alert just went off.
Who's muted me?
Who's been playing with that?
Kono or every cunt?
No.
Okay. So the reason why I'm not gonna follow you is for one specific reason, one specific reason only. Is that I'm here to follow Kimono, oh that as well. Not to try and
You're absolutely rude, you know that right now.
I'm not rude. I'm being genuinely like sincere. Like I'm
Anyways, I don't follow anybody.
I'm trying not to be rude. I'm just trying to be honest.
You don't really watch Twitch streams.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't really watch streams, but yeah, I get it.
Well, anyways, I follow.
I follow one person. I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't even follow me, and I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, the fuck.
You don't follow anybody.
Yeah, what
when
the fuck,
someone's
man?
talking like this and they're like doing their own thing, why the fuck would you give them?
Like
I follow multiple
Anyways,
people.
let's play the golf. Let's play the golf.
Yes.
From the accent, we're almost like Snatch.
Yeah, but you can't.
The fuck would you buy fucking caravan?
All right, let's go back to listening to Lady Rain's commentary.
I mean, if you really want something in your holes, Mono.
She has holes.
You just have to say so.
That's a thing to say.
Right here on the stream. right there, yeah. That flagpole thing.
She's talking about your
I think
ears.
my exclamation point charity thing works. Hold on. It does.
So I'm worried that I've
Let's just play golf and get it over with.
I'm really not.
You're fine. You're fine.
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Oh, so this is when you jump over the thing.
Got it.
Oh.
Okay. No, don't full eat it.
Half a yeet.
That was a mistake.
It's been a while.
Oh, shoot. I had the right idea, but then I messed it up.
Fuck my life,
I also has the
please.
foggy brain, so I don't know.
You can go to see eats, but you gotta get it fucking timed perfectly.
Ah!
fucking idiot.
I went the wrong way and now I've ruined
Yeah,
it.
same. I've literally just fucking double backed myself.
I gotta take my beat here.
I can get a narrow way.
Oh, you gotta get up there.
Oh!
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I wasted way too many shots trying to skip.
Come on, Splints, get in the hole.
That's why I never skip.
Oh, tenor. That was fun.
I won't lie to you. It took, like, I didn't even see where the hole was, but I got myself in the hole.
Cool story, bro.
Good job.
I don't know how. I can't even explain it.
Jeffron, he was
So
in the course.
I'm not expecting others.
Is that the right hole though?
You're going the wrong way. It's behind you.
Oh, it's the sparkly pole.
Over by the chairs floating around.
Yeah.
The one that has the sparkles coming off of it. Behind you. Yeah.
You go right down.
There's only like 500 poles to look at on this course.
Yeah.
I know, seriously.
And it does make you jump across over there to get to it, so.
Chop, gun.
Or maybe it doesn't.
I had to do this.
There it is.
It's
7, 6, 5, 4.
Go, 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 go!
1.
You're right beside. It's right beside you. It's right beside you. The pole's right beside you.
Oh my god.
Damn it.
So close.
Aiden, maybe don't do that in the future, please.
Well, I'm just letting you know of a fucking time scenario.
I don't need your fucking countdown.
Well, it fucking sounds and looks
hey,
like you do.
Hey. Behave before I stab both of you.
Oh no, y'all making Rain be a mod again.
Can we just hug?
Ah, I messed up.
You guys fucked it up.
Fuck me.
Fucking
sideways.
There.
I can't get the second jump.
Crisscross gonna make you.
Ah.
Jump. You gotta use that timing. Jump.
So close to the hole.
Jump, jump.
I got a wee
There we
slot.
go.
I got a wee slot.
No, Tifa, too far.
Oh my. Wait, what?
What? I'm cuddling with my demon. He's very innocent. It's a forest demon.
Sorry, Aiden. What I meant.
Tokyo.
You need to tell me what to do. I need to play the game.
Yeah,
That's so cute.
You do you.
Where did Tex go?
I still.
He went outside.
I think he died.
We lost Tex.
Yeah, he went outside.
Come pick me up. Come pick me up. Where's the fucking
stuff?
Oh.
So close.
Yeah, so far.
So close yet so far away.
Oh, yeah, I chipped it. Would have been a par. Shoot.
I thought.
A wild smoochums appeared.
What's that song from? I'm so far, so.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking of.
Doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Thinking of fucking.
It's Linkin Park, but I don't remember the name of the song.
Linkin Park.
In the end. No, it's called In the
Candy
End.
Rain.
Yeah, we got it. I get it.
It doesn't even matter.
Sorry, guys.
And he fucking killed himself.
Lady, tell me.
Chester, yes.
Fucking
Chester.
heathens over here, not knowing
Fucking
Linkin
no
Park
joke.
songs.
No joke.
I knew the band. I just couldn't remember the name of the song.
Actually, fucking coming out of this game.
And y'all
What?
yourselves fans.
Never said that.
Never said it was a fan.
I was never.
Oh, we almost got carded.
That hurt me in my soul.
Just bounce it in.
probably friends with it.
Everybody likes
Boo.
Oh, I got caught under the lip. Dang it.
What's going?
Which lip?
What did you say there?
None yet.
In the end.
Oh.
It doesn't even matter.
Ah.
No, not even that.
I mean, it works both.
Oh, hit me and saved me. Thank you. Somebody hit me and saved me from the ghost and got me right by the hole, and I got a birdie.
Oh. Tifa, you almost had me over the hill.
You blocked my shot.
All right, I just gotta do this
You
the normal
almost
way.
had
I'm
me
missing.
over the hill.
Whoops, that didn't.
Splashes crisis.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Oh no.
Yo, Moose Knuckles.
Wake up, chat. Chef Squad quote. That's appropriate because we were talking about Chef Squad today. Alright, dreams. No pressure.
There's a lot of pressure.
Sorry, Tex, I don't have it.
Let's get some battery in my phone so I can actually send it to them.
Getting knocked about by a ghost. He's spooky.
Let's go.
Sorry if I'm being kind of quiet. I'm trying to glitch my way through this Mario game.
You're trying to cheat again.
Glitch it?
Yeah.
Oh, you fucking idiot.
It's okay. I got too much alcohol in my system. I've tired myself out now.
You need the snacky snacks.
I'll be honest
Do
with
we
you.
have to give you sodium
My
crackers?
ADHD is kind of counting itself down. Because of the alcohol.
I don't drink, so I don't know.
This is something.
I don't drink. You assume I drink.
Right, too much to do. Being a fucking Arctic Monkeys gig. Also drank too much.
I didn't go far enough. I wanted to go further.
Sorry, my
Oh, wrong hole.
Oh. Oh, Raid!
You don't want me to drink it.
Where are we aiming? Where are we aiming?
Behind us?
Across the way.
Everybody up. Oh, I'm just gonna get the stuff from where?
Come on, did you see that?
Holy crap.
Dang it.
Ah, you suck.
Ah, I got robbed. I jumped out of the hole.
Blocks rocking and cunt socking.
Ta-da.
Scottish is on full display tonight.
I know, it's literally fucking full blown. And it's not even intentional. It's just the fact that
I
I
can
have no
tell.
fucks given to me.
Sorry, I'm still kind of soberish.
No,
I'm
appreciate
definitely
your
not.
patience then. I appreciate your patience. Do you know what, I'll be honest with you, it's not even the fact that it's...
Come on, fire Pokemon, pop me up. Right? I need some fire Pokemon.
to make this...
Right, where are they at?
In my head, I'm like, let's remain compass mentis. Let's remain compass mentis.
Michigan. Thor, I want all your sauces.
But I just can't.
Where's Michigan at? He's missing this.
He stepped away. He got in the hole already.
Michigan's probably sick and tired of my voice. He's fucked off. So
We're all tired of your
voices. Lady, I appreciate your honesty, and I know that it's true. So I'm gonna shut the fuck up from this moment on.
No, you're good. You're fine.
I'm not good, and I'm not fine.
We are 8 of 18.
Any better? I'm not good and I'm not fine.
It doesn't.
Let's talk about that.
Beep. Oh, jeez. Okay.
I can't get.
Now.
This hole is complicated.
Yep.
We'll eat it everywhere, right?
Oh gosh, no! I bounced over it.
Oh, I must have hit the ceiling. What happened? Now I'm going down the
Hell
stairs.
yeah. What?
Oh no, and then I'm not gonna make it. Oh, that might. What? Oh, you can't stop on the stairs.
Nope.
I totally made it over there though. What the fuck?
No.
What the
Tarnation
shit?
Maybe I go
I don't remember how much eat to give this. I keep forgetting.
The course corrected me and said, "No, you're gonna go the proper way."
Right? What's the proper way? I don't even know how to go the proper way on this. Oh man. No.
Wait, do I need to bounce off that wall? What?
No.
Oh, but I'm not centered for it. There we go.
What? I give up. I never do this bad.
That's why I quit.
Oh my god, yes, I made
I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing.
Incredibly.
I'm trying to make sure I don't get first place. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, you're being kind.
Yes.
That was a tough one.
Who gave me extra bounce?
Not me. It's probably Jaffron.
That's a thing. Wait, what?
Extra.
Maybe Green.
How does
No. I went the wrong way anyway. I give up. It's not gonna work. I'm gonna run out of turns.
What the fuck, Dreams? How'd you do that?
I got myself a double snorter. I'm happy with that.
Lady, so don't go full. Whoop.
I ran out of
We ran out.
Go like maybe.
I ran out of time.
Too late now. I ran out of time.
It's too late.
Mono, you're winning.
How am I still winning after that?
I don't even know.
How am I still alive is what I'm fucking going with.
Apparently I've done worse.
How are we still fucking like here?
I don't know. I'm fucking drunk.
I read books every day.
Oh no.
Ah, I hit the wall.
I don't read.
Messy up.
I listen to my books. I don't have time to read.
Hey, listen
to my books.
I don't have time to do much.
How am I not? What am I doing wrong here?
While I do books at work.
Full power.
I'm a
and then
bookkeeper
don't
for
jump. I see what I was doing wrong.
Going too quick. That's what it is.
I'm the keeper of books.
Going too quick and I don't know.
No worries. No worries. I thought you had to jump at the top of the ramp and you didn't.
The thing that gets me is the camera changes.
Well, you can.
I can't see the proper.
You can move it
How
around.
many eats is this?
I don't know.
Not whatever Tifa just did.
That's full power.
Oh, you gotta go underneath the moose.
3.5-ish.
It's not a moose.
Don't go the angle I did.
I'm going the angle, and I reckon it's probably like.
Oh no, I jumped out.
Oh no.
Oh there, I jumped back in.
That was on the rail.
Oh, I ended up on the wrong.
That wasn't fair. Oh, what? Okay, that
works.
It's
like 2.5-ish. Okay.
Thanks, Splints.
You're welcome.
I needed that. A little boost.
Just a little buddy bump.
Yeah, it was a good boost. I needed it.
The moose fixed me up. It's not a moose. Why do I keep saying that? It's a ram.
Is it a ram? I never looked that high up. I never looked that far up before. It is definitely a ram. I just never looked that far up before.
But I keep saying moose. I don't know why.
I thought it was a moose too.
It's the meese.
And it's a ram.
It's a mace.
Keep jumping, Dreams. Keep jumping. You got it. There you go.
It's a meese.
It's a ram.
It's a meese.
It's a meese.
Well, you guys take care though. Everybody take care.
All right, bye, Michigan. Talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out, playing. Is it full yeet or no? I think it's full yeet. Oh no. Oh no. Full yeet failed me.
Oh, dang it.
Less than full yeet failed me.
I did full, but it was sketch.
It's like
oh, I hit it too hard and chipped
3 1/3 maybe? Yeah, 3 1/3.
almost all the way.
3 1/3 is safe. Oh.
You gotta be careful because if you hit the branches, they like muck you about.
Yep, that's what happened with the full yeet and the like 3 1/2 yeets. So like 3 and just a little bit of a yeet.
Dead center, and I went full.
Dreams just 3 and a little bit. And Jeffron.
Wait, I played already.
He's in. It's.
Oh, is he? Then why does it have his name on there?
Oh, wait,
That's
no,
weird.
No, Jeffron, you're still here at the base of the monkey, the gorilla.
Yeah, 3 and just a little bit more than 3. Just a little bit more than 3.
No, it's not me.
It's saying you're here.
I see you. That's so weird. I'm looking at you. It wouldn't surprise me if the game is bugged, but...
Shit, sorry, it is me. My bad.
3 and just a little bit.
Maybe I bounced off.
3 yellow bars and a smidge straight through the big gorilla.
Have you ever heard of Sleep Token?
Huh?
I'm sorry. My house is being filled with so many people right now, so I apologize.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Got a call that from overseas. I can't take it. I've got to go.
Okay. Bye. Catch you later, Tex.
See you guys. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for hanging out. My hands got shredded. I spent almost 2 hours polishing my pans and the drip pans on the stove. Oh, jeez. You didn't have gloves? That's a long time.
Well, now that they're clean for those little drip pans, what I do is I put foil over them, and then you never have to clean them again.
That's true. Oh, Wooloo! That's not a fire type, but I do like Wooloo. I'm trying. I'm using an Ultra Ball here.
Sorry, I fell from the sky. I couldn't do much about it.
That didn't work. Oh. Well, I can't listen right now because of stream, but yeah. See, I need to do it and put it off for a year. LOL. Oh no.
Well, you know what?
Bunny Rage! That's so cute.
When you do listen to it, so good.
Straight for the baby head. Not. Don't do what I did.
And I love it, but you'll understand.
I think I did what you did, Mono.
I always thought it was straight for the baby head, but then I guess not. I messed up.
No, I
oh.
think it's a little to the right of it.
How did you get it to bounce to the right?
No.
You have the same musical.
I jumped on the couch and everywhere. There's a creepy baby head on the couch.
Musical thoughts as Kimono.
Matthew, you probably like this map the best. It's spooky.
I want to say both of us.
Since you like horror games.
Not everything, so.
Okay.
Cool. I caught Wooloo! I just realized that. Just give us 5 fire types already, right?
Just listen to it, and you might like it. That's all I'm saying. I didn't like it. I don't like it to a certain degree. Listen to it. That's all I'm saying. Just give it a shot.
Jeff Ron's dancing.
Later, probably not tonight though. After this game, I'm probably going to bed because I'm exhausted.
So yeah, this is the last round for me. Tifa, are you gonna continue streaming, or are you gonna be?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be continuing streaming. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know for how long though, but.
Okay.
Is somebody creeping by my house?
Yeah, it's me. Sorry.
Or do it, or else we fight. Those are cute. Little fighting bunnies. Brooke! Brooke is so cute and sweet and cuddly.
There she goes.
My roommates are being so loud.
I don't hear him.
It's okay. Yeah, we can't hear them. So you don't have to worry about stress over that.
I'm just stressed.
I can hear the purring a little bit.
In general,
I'm surprised.
I'm stressed.
Tell me why you're stressed.
Because they're too loud and they're bothering him.
My father.
Oh. Where did I go? Dang. I got stuck. It was in a weird spot.
You're so lucky, Kimono.
I know, this is a good spot. Yeah.
I know where your head's fucking at. Your head's like, oh, I'm just gonna piggyback off of this cunt.
No, I'm cuddling with Brooke. That's where my head's at.
Where are we going with this? We're going like a full year. Go Splints!
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I got confused for a second. I was like, how the?
Oh here. Lady.
Saffron and Dreams, it's below you.
Get the fuck in the hole.
Did you go for your home?
Two more holes. Can we make it?
Hole and I couldn't fucking get
do it, put your back into it.
Do you know what? It's fucking crazy.
That's
now
way
that
out there.
Now that I made that jinx, we're gonna go like maybe 2.5 yeets. 2.5 yeets. Nice, gentle.
No, 3.5 is usually good.
Oh, I went to a different hole.
Holy, where are y'all going?
Don't do it. We're going all over the place, but not the right place.
Ease my way in. 2.5 yeets.
There.
We're almost there.
Right, how do we get down to that though?
You don't have
Very carefully.
It's like
I think I found a cheat way to get down there.
Let's go 2.5.
I don't understand.
Did that work? Whoever just went down to the left.
I took the spider web.
No, it didn't work. No.
Hard pass.
I went full yeet to the left part of the spider web and it got me down.
Oh jeez, I messed up.
There's something in front of me that's not working.
Yeah, that was me. You knocked me out. Wait, you put me way back here. That's not my fault.
But you weren't there. I couldn't
was.
see you.
Oh, because my ball's green, it matches the thing. Where the hell is the hole? I don't understand.
You gotta ride the cobwebs down.
Yeah, I would never have done that. Like,
no, I know.
Yeah,
I'm not
'cause it is
accusing you. I'm not
down.
accusing you of anything. It was just kind of funny.
Yeah, so like you see where the like little.
You gotta ride up the cobwebs.
Of the cobweb to like to the left, you have to do full yeet to the lip of the cobweb.
And then hit the
like
other
Are you
cobweb.
taking notes, Matthew? Take all the notes.
Now my.
Yes, just like Splints did, but you're supposed to hit the other cobweb to knock you back down.
I'm scuffed. I'm like.
So you did it a little bit too hot. Oh, jump down, jump down, jump down.
I literally.
Dang it.
I'm
Dang it.
in the middle of nowhere.
You might actually be able to go a little to the right and just be able to drop down Splints.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yikes.
There ain't no chance that I'm getting out from
That was rugged.
50 Shades of Fucked. For sure.
Pretty much.
This is the haunted mansion. It is kind of rough.
Oh, come on.
No, Splints.
Oh no, you were so close.
I went from second to third because of that bullshit.
Fucking shiz, nigga.
Wait, we can go either way? Oh.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Don't get ghost axed? Okay, I get it.
Yeah, you don't want to get hit by that.
Oh, I did not hit that hard enough. Yikes. Well, actually, maybe I did. Maybe I did. That's not bad. That's not bad.
To the goddamn floor.
Ah. Thanks.
What the hell?
And then.
Oh, I didn't quite make it to where I wanted to be.
Do you know what?
I'll make it work.
Sorry for fucking nobody.
Kimono.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in the hole first.
Let's go. It fell off the pedestal thing. You gotta be kidding me.
And I'm down to one hand.
Dreams, you got the best seat in the house. I don't know how you got up there, but you got the best seat in the house. Splits, why'd you jump out?
Because I was gonna fall out either way. I keep hitting it just a little too hard, I guess.
Oh.
Oh, damn it. I mistimed that terribly.
Yeah, now you gotta go line up again.
Yeah, oh, and I hit it too hard, didn't I? Yeah.
Yep.
Even worse than I was. Fudge.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Let's go just over 3. Because it's got a wee boost. Just over 3.
No, I know, that's the
Full blast from like there, I think, or maybe just over 3. Huh?
I swear, if I jump off the pedestal again, I'm gonna be so mad.
We got it together. We got it together.
Dreams has decided to try to join us.
I think I was the first one up there, but then I just kept falling off.
Dreams, you're in the hot seat. You got this. No!
That's 2.5.
That's what I kept doing. No, where you're at now, you barely even need to go. Like, you just need to hit the... Yeah. There you go.
You ran out of time, though.
Maybe, maybe not. Oh, so close. So close. Robbed.
Hey, I was still last, so it's okay.
Robbed.
It's like golf IRL. For sure.
For sure.
I'm only good
Yep.
at the forest level. The rest of them, I'm terrible.
Thank you guys for playing.
Oh, I got a Witcher.
The more I've drank.
Well, that does happen, yeah.
Quitting that shit. You guys are all having an amazing time doing news. Amazing. And,
Yo, Aiden, we love you to bits.
Brilliant.
Someone's got to.
But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for playing.
People love you.
Hell yeah, dude.
And you don't forget that.
Coffee pasta.
looks Pride-esque to me. It's great. I love it.
And if he puts his head down, it looks like a fucking pea.
Alright, guys, let's do this. We're gonna go raid Tefa. She's gonna stay alive for a little longer. She's fundraising for Stack Up. Let's go share the love. Nico. Appreciate you all. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the St. Jude cosplay redemption. I still have a couple other special streams coming up. You know it. The next cosplay is Friday. So I will see y'all again on Friday, of course. And if I'm well tomorrow, I'll go live tomorrow. It depends on how I feel tomorrow, honestly, because I've been so sick and fighting off colds and stuff. But I hope to be live again tomorrow. And I love your faces. Thank you again for everything. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.